going to be a different vPub tonight. Looking forward to this one. Normally, the vPubs can be a wee bit about making a point, doing something try to be a wee bit educational or a wee bit entertaining, something or other. But tonight is really all about just good old-fashioned indulgence. Indulging me, absolutely. But I've got a guest here tonight, and I've lined up a lot of really quite, well, I believe them to be quite interesting drams. And arguably, the mood I'm in right now, these are my potentially best drams. So much of the stuff on the vPub is all about value. It's all about finding the best bang for your buck. It's all about finding the next new thing. It's all of these things. Sounds a little patchy, Helen. I hope that it's probably just sometimes it happens when we start off. Hopefully, it's okay. Um, eh, Yeah, somebody else is saying great selection as well. There's a if you're watching live, I've pinned exactly what's lined up in front of me right now, but my guest tonight doesn't have any idea. This is a special guest. I've poured what I believe to be my best whiskies, and we're just going to spend the night sitting down, relaxing, going through them one at a time, and just trying to capture some reactions and just have a nice chat about everything that we love about whiskey. I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to Thursday night. I hope you're all doing very well. I hope you've got something nice, something that you might consider your best whiskey poured in front of you as well to share with us tonight, because I've poured some really quite nice whiskies.
And I'm very excited.
But I don't want to lead you too much, because there might be one or two whiskies in here that I've included that I genuinely consider my best, but maybe for a different reason.
Okay.
Maybe they're a bit more affordable, a bit more attainable, a bit more. We can't just sit and have a lineup of we can have a lineup of unobtainium unicorns. Honestly, we can. We can have a lot of fun doing that. But I think it's nice, since you're sipping blind tonight and you don't know what's in front of you, that if you're going to react, then it's going to be interesting to see how you react to something that is still affordable and attainable. Anyway, this is my friend Leanne. Welcome to the vPub, Leanne.
Welcome. Thank you
Of course,
for having me here.
You've been here before.
I have been, but it was in the former, what I called Aquavite layer.
That's
this
right.
is
Yes.
the new and improved layer.
It still has a bit of a layer feel about it.
It
Right?
does. It's like yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough to fit two people in. If it's Roddy and I, we're usually very side by side. You see.
Yeah.
And tonight, I thought what I'd try and do is turn the table around a wee bit so that we could at least be facing each other a wee bit more. Right.
Like normal, and then chat with you all.
Aye, that's right. Rather than two people just kind of presenting, but rather just be two people sitting and enjoying,
sharing a dram.
whiskies.
Or 7.
So that's the concept for tonight. Leanne has no idea what's in front of her. But just as I was going live tonight, I shared with all of you. So it's pinned in the live chat. You can click on that. You can have a look at the selection. You can see exactly what I've gone for here. You can see that I've gone for a mix of, well, I don't even want to say what I've, because I just don't want to. And the reason I don't want is not so much leading you, but I don't want to give you any anxiety that you're kind of, oh, this is that thing or that thing. What I want you to do is just, honestly, just enjoy these whiskies. Just enjoy these drams.
I will not have any problem doing that. None at all.
And also, and I think most people out there know exactly what this is about, let me have a wee bit of vicarious enjoyment as well. This channel is built on sharing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are the same as me. We all get a kick out of, it's nuts that we spend all this money on whiskey and we give a hell of a lot of it away.
We do.
And that's down to vicarious enjoyment of whiskey. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Because you want the interaction of someone to be able to relate to how you relate or don't relate to the whiskey.
Sorry, I've just put the fan on it. It's been a warm day in Scotland again. It's been,
I brought the heat and the sunshine.
Yes, yeah. And you want to, you hope that some people has the same understanding or the same appreciation. No, this is a nice whiskey, or this is having a similar effect to somebody else. It's just
Right.
when two people can enjoy the same thing. But even if they don't, and even if they say, no, this isn't one of my favorites, I prefer something else, it's fine to get that feedback and that
Yeah.
grounding. Not everything. It's all very, very subjective. Chris Brooke is in celebrating being a member of the Barflies for 6 months. Chris, thank you very much. Good evening, Aquavite and Leanne. Good to
Awesome.
see you. And
Hey, Chris.
Cheers. Yeah, we should maybe jump into the lounge and welcome some of the beautiful
Absolutely.
whiskey folk and dedicated Barflies.
Oh, no.
Cheers. 2019, you said you were here last?
2019. Yep. Was supposed to come back 2020. We kind of all know how that went.
Yep.
But yeah, I came and I came in to do the Isla Whiskey Academy, and I did at Glengoyne. You came, picked me up, met your beautiful family, and then we did an impromptu live that night, and it was fun and crazy, and you know.
Yeah, and I don't even think we had a theme that
No,
night. It was just the two of us just doing exactly.
I don't think we have to have a theme. We kind of like
Yeah.
build off of this,
Yeah.
and have fun, and that's the thing too. I like about, you can just have a conversation over the drams. You don't have to be a bit too much of an entertainment, or it's okay to take a night off, Roy.
Yeah.
You put out spectacular content, very valuable content. If I can be the conduit to which you can indulge for a night, sign me up. I'll do this all day.
Well, brilliant. That's we talked about just before we went live tonight, and it's okay, focusing on kind of having a theme in order to have evergreen content, or a theme that people can come back to and find some value watching the vPub much after the event. But my wife was talking about it tonight earlier, that there was been comments about how you can find so much to talk about whiskey, but it is endless. The whiskey, the discovery, depending on whether you just want to enjoy whiskey through sipping and sharing, or whether you want to enjoy whiskey through studying and learning more and more about. It really is, the more you get into whiskey, the more you realize there's so much to learn. But let's be honest, we can learn as much as we like. The real enjoyment at the end of the day, whether you're with someone or you're just sitting alone in your armchair, right? The real enjoyment is just when the liquid hits, when it lands. What are you thinking of this first one? I was going to go into the chat. You have a nose and a taste, and I'll jump in and see who's hanging out with us tonight. I'm looking for the orange as always, and hopefully I'll be doing my housekeeping tonight and putting in timestamps. If I can't get to it tonight, I'll try and get to it in the morning. And that means that you can skip ahead to see Leanne's take on the drams that I'm sharing tonight. I'll also have the list of what I'm sharing linked in the description as well. If you're watching on the replay, thank you very much. I appreciate everyone that does. So picking up the orange tonight, welcome everyone. Gary Carew's in. Good to see you, Gary. Hope you're well. I can see a few of those glasses go flying this evening. Yeah, it does. It's just the way that we've had to kind of, we've got 7 very small pours this side, 7 very small pours in front of me. So there's quite a lot to get through.
But 7 times very small pour is still
it still adds up, right?
Yeah.
It still adds up. But you don't need to finish any of these tonight, although I imagine that you are going to probably want to finish most of them. Good to see you, Gary. Jerry Miller is here as well. Jerry, always good to see you. Good evening, Roy. Great to see Leanne on tonight and enjoy. Thank you, Jerry. And Ben Demon Hunter is saying Leanne and Roy. Good to see you, Ben. I hope you're doing well. Rolfie Ebhead is in. I hope you're home safe back in Oslo, buddy, and I hope you had a good time down in Campbelltown. I managed to have a wee cup of coffee with Era, and he was telling me all the tales and stories from the week. Fantastic stuff. Max Kreitner from Austria is in. Good to see you, Max. Good evening, my friend, and a big virtual hug for Leanne. Fabulous. Maybe you'll get to hang out with our Max one day as well.
Awesome.
Matt F, Greg's Whiskey Guide. Good to see you, Greg, in Paris. Good to see you, Matt. Bruno Martins is here from Portugal, saying good evening, Roy and Leanne. And Ian Bruce is saying good evening, Roy, Leanne, and the Barflies from Loch Tay. James DeJulio as well. That is a lot of drams. It does seem like a lot as I look on the screen tonight, James. Yeah.
Un poquito pours.
Yeah. That's right. Wee tiny pours. I hope the sound's not patchy anymore. I thought it was sounding okay. The regular mic that I use is working. It's fine, but it's a wee bit far away from us, so we're trying the wireless mics tonight. If it doesn't work, just shout and we'll try switching over to that one, but I think it's okay. Whiskey and Wine Trails, that's Tom. Good to see you, Tom. The first thing we love about whiskey is all the people we share it with, including Roy and Leanne. And Tom, as you as well, my friend. Good to have you in. Thanks for the kind words, buddy. I hope you're well. Ebhead is saying cheers, Roy and Leanne. And Rob Smith is saying, hello, Leanne, Roy, and the Barflies. Looking forward to this vPub. I am as well, buddy. I really am, Rob. Seb K is in. Leanne's greetings from Portugal. I just got to hang out with, there's been about a dozen people or more in the last 2 weeks in and out of Glasgow. I managed to, Jens Roger Christofferson from Norway. I managed to meet Justin Wang from Hong Kong. Seb K from Portugal, but he's a Scotsman. He's just expat Scot out in Portugal. It's been brilliant to see everyone, but it's busy times. Everybody's back on traveling full tilt again. Rick Johnson is saying good afternoon, Roy and Leanne and fellow Barflies. I guess I'm driving late. I hope you're not driving anywhere, Rick. I hope that you're sitting down comfortably with something nice in your glass. Now, I have missed a couple of super chats. I don't want to miss those. Danny Keenan's bought us a dram to say, Slanchu Vat, Roy and Leanne. Thank you, Danny. Thank you very much for your dram, buddy. I hope you're doing very well.
Slanchu, y'all.
And also my friend John McAllister. Oh, John, is that a new name, John? John McAllister. Evening all. First time in for a live showing in a long time. Fantastic, John. Nice to see you in, buddy. I hope you're doing well. And thanks to you and my friend Danny for your drams. Thank you very much. I don't want to tear through this, but it's inevitable. James DeJulio has also bought me a wee dram. With a wee super sticker saying, how's it going? Thank you very much, James. Cheers to you. What do you think of this one?
I do love a bourbon matured whiskey.
Right, so you think it's bourbon matured?
I do.
Yeah.
And it's just very clean, crisp.
This is the red dot for those of you that's clicked on that wee link. It should run in the same order left to right that you have in the pictures there. It should. I haven't put much thought into that, honestly. But I started with this one because it's potentially the most fragile, the most delicate.
That makes sense. And I will say, sitting here with all these drams to say what I think in front of this guy, on the surface may be intimidating, but it is really not, because he's a good guy and I have my palate, he has his. So I'm not going to be afeared about what I'm going to say, but because not necessarily everybody gets everything, different tasting notes and stuff.
And as some of the drams that you'll have, this might be one of them, has potentially an oddness to it.
This one does a little bit, but I'm really liking it.
Right.
And it has a ruby grapefruit pithy kind of. Do you know the pith, the white stuff in a grapefruit?
No,
but the ruby red is like the grapefruit oil. It's not so much the sweetness of a grapefruit as it is the expression of the oil in the skin, and then the dryness of the pith. That was my first impression. And I think I've talked myself out of tasting notes so many times that I'm trying to just center on my first impression of a dram.
Yeah.
And just kind of let it fall out from that rather than trying to just think too hard on one.
Well, I think especially because when we actually, especially when we're just sitting around together sipping whiskey, tasting notes are not about analysis or recording something for posterity or to
right
share
or wrong
in a review or certainly not right or wrong. But what you are trying to do when you're in company is to try and articulate, vocalize how the drama is speaking to you, right? And you could maybe just do it by numbers or percentage or wows or exclamations or something. There's lots of ways to do that. But it's inevitable that with whiskey, because the variation glass to glass, that we start to want to label what these things are.
Right.
White pith from grapefruit makes perfect sense to me.
Okay.
It's almost like this is not a bitter whiskey, but there is bitterness in this whiskey. And I think that's what you're picking up there. Yeah. Well,
that's so much fun.
I've got everything is off here to the side. It's hiding in a big tall bag. So there's no chance that Leanne can see any bottles either.
No.
But it's as each bottle comes out and I share with you, I'll tell you why I've wanted to share it, what makes it a best whiskey for me.
Okay.
Because some of these whiskies are, rare, some of them are emotional, some of them are just favorites, but they are things that sometimes I'm a bit precious about them because when they're gone, they're gone.
Right.
But there's no point in being precious about something when whiskey has assured us time and time again that when it is gone, nostalgia and your memories of it just means that it's going to be built higher and higher
Yeah.
in your memory.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's nice just to say, okay, no more anxiety, let's finish it. And there's a couple of bottles here that are about ready to be just killed off. So we might, I don't know if we'll manage
Well,
it tonight, but
and that is tough because you know, whether it's a bottle of whiskey or it's going to be the end of a 3-week trip in Scotland, it comes to a point where you have to say and accept, I'm happy that it happened and not sad that it's over,
exactly.
because you got to experience it. You got to, I mean, just in the 1 week I have been here, I have met 5 people I knew online that I finally got to meet or get to see again, you know. Um, so the whiskey this whole week has been fabulous, but being able to see all those people has made it taste even better.
I want to say, I knew you as Leanne before you were Leanne from Scotch on the Bayou.
Yes.
You were just Leanne. I
I
mean,
was just Leanne.
Scotch on the Bayou is a YouTube channel now, sharing
Yep.
whiskey from Louisiana.
Yep.
Scotch whiskey, obviously, mostly is the focus, but you don't tie everything to Scotch. But the reason that you and I originally did the vPub back in whenever it was, you say 2019.
19.
I felt like it was even older than that, but it was about two friends just hanging out.
It just was. It was impromptu.
Yep. I'd already met you in Texas by that time, right?
Mm-hmm. The week before.
So was that
Yes.
2019? So that was the second time I'd been to Texas then. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It wasn't the first time, it was the second time I'd gone there that we'd met, and then you'd come over.
Right.
But there's no channel existing. It's just Leanne.
Yeah. I had an Instagram. That was it.
But I tell you why everybody knew who Leanne was. The same reason I know who Gary Cobb is. Falsgraf. I got to meet Gary Cobb this week, and I got to hang out with him on Tuesday night at the Bonaccord at Glasgow Whisky Club. Falsgraf is class. I know him from Germany. We've met a couple of years in Limburg. Helen and Andy I've met. Ebhead is Rolf. Your Uncle Vanya, I don't know who you are yet, buddy, but maybe one day I'll get to meet my Uncle Vanya, right? It's just this idea that because you have a YouTube channel, it doesn't mean that when you meet, everybody's almost as well known as you are. If you come in and participate in the lives, all it is either a well-known face or a well-known name. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, you're Ebhead, oh, you're Era McFault, and all of these things. You're Kilco. It's just, and when you get to meet these people in real life, I still remain shocked about it. We're never let down.
Mm-mm.
You're never suddenly, and you're always, whiskey is a good way of pre-selecting people. I've got a theory about this. We can get into it a wee bit later, but I think I've got a theory about why that is. Gordon Fraser's in tonight as well. Good to see you, buddy. Right, I'm ready to tell you what this is.
Okay, I want to know.
Are you finding it a little bit odd?
It's odd, but normal's terribly overrated.
Yeah, but the thing that's very prominent in this, probably the most prominent I've ever tasted it, and it's their first ram. But there's something in this glass called OBE, Old Bottle Effect. So this is not an old whiskey. It's 12 years old, but it was distilled probably in the 1960s.
Wow.
So it's an antique whiskey. And the smell in this glass is very, very typical to lots of whiskies, whether it's a blend or a malt from that era. They take on this almost, sometimes it can be a little bit paper and cardboard, sometimes it can be sometimes a wee bit mushroomy, sometimes a wee bit solventy. But there's this aroma that's a little bit like, and they call it OBE, Old Bottle Effect. So I'll tell you what this is, and I'll tell you the story behind this bottle.
Oh, wow.
This is Glenlivet. Glenlivet 12 years. Now, I've got a lot further to reach tonight, and it's a lot of faces for it to focus. It might not want to focus on the bottle, but this is an antique bottle of Glenlivet 12-year-old. This was given to me by my neighbour across the road. She had this bottle forever. Her husband was a friend of ours as well, and there was only a wee drop out of it, and she asked me about it. She asked what I thought. Because it was already open, it's not worth anything. So I said, the best thing you can do is just drink it, give it to people that enjoy it. So she took bottles and she poured off bottles to give to her whiskey pals, and she gave me the rest.
Wow.
And I used it on a vPub in the past before when we compared old versus now.
Okay. I think I remember that.
Yeah, and we compared it to the modern Glenlivet 12. And of course, whatever you think of this glass, there's nothing in it there's really not. There's some fruit, maybe some tropical note. You've picked up a bit of ripe grapefruit or whatever, but there's not much there's not even much of a DNA that can really connect the two of these over. And it's a really big ask to expect it to after 50 years, right?
Right. Goodness.
But it's one of the pleasures of whiskey that can exist for decades and decades and still be enjoyable to drink.
Yeah.
A long, long time later. Let's pop it over the back. So I know that that's almost like a privilege thing because we're sipping something that's older than us, Leanne. Right? And
Well,
I'm speaking for myself here, but that's saying something, right?
I'll claim that. I have a few years on you, so we'll just we'll go there.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
It's South Louisiana and all that humidity.
Yeah.
We don't wrinkle a lot down there.
Or it's the whiskey, maybe one of the two
Well,
things.
that too. That could help.
So you know, have you had antique whiskies before, or?
I have actually. Our buddy, Mark Broda, Scotch for Dummies,
Yes.
had
You're well, Mark.
some really interesting ones before, and when I was up there in Indiana, and just very different, good, just but they were all blends from the 70s, 80s mostly.
So did he go out to auction and buy these? Or?
He had a friend whose family had them and needed to get rid of them, just wanted to get rid of them, and said, "Hey, you know, Mark, you drink Scotch, right?" And he's like, yeah."
Yeah.
And she just gave them over, and then the spring we had a bottle share in our local group, and one of the members, Tony, came up to me and said, "Do you like old bottles of Scotch?" And I was like, "Do I like old bottles of Scotch?" It's like, is that even a question? And he said, "Well, I have 2 bottles from my father-in-law, and he didn't drink them, and I was want to see if you might want them." And I'm like thinking, sure, well, let me look at them, and it was a bottle of Ballantines.
Yep.
And a bottle of Glenlivet 12 that was from the 70s and 80s, and the box and pristine.
Wow.
And it was at a bottle share event. And he said, "Well, if you want to open them up tonight," and I went, actually, I don't. I'm going to tuck these back in here because I want to research them. And I really did.
And also, you just want to check that they're not corked or they haven't deteriorated too much.
Or something.
Of course, that's the right thing to do.
Isn't it? And I was like, "Well, what can I, give them?" And he's like, "No,
And
I just want you to have them."
Just to give that context, most of these blends, even from the 70s and 60s, are still perfectly affordable now, especially if you look on auction for them. And especially if there's not a lot of other people looking at the same time, you can pick these up for 40, 50 pounds. And even, I mean, maybe something like a single malt, a historical single malt like a Glenlivet, maybe be a little bit more, but it's still remarkably affordable and attainable for some time. It's not always going to be the case.
Yeah.
Were you able to taste any OBA in those? That kind
I haven't opened them yet. I'm going to. I know, it's like one of those things.
Sounds like a reason for a Scotch on the Bio live stream in the future. Whiskey Franco is what it's a dram to say. Have to jump. We'll catch the replay after work. Such a joy to see the two of my favourite whiskey folk together enjoying this wonderful spirit we all love. Cheers, Roy and Leanne.
Thanks, Martin.
Thank you, Whiskey Franco. Please be sure to come back again. Thanks for the kind words. Tobias Locust saying, "Hi, Leanne, watching the vPub from a tent."
Oh my gosh, I bet you're it. I knew you would be there.
You're the second best place in Scotland. Tobias, so good to see you. Listen, for everybody that's having a riot over on Isla, perhaps a lot of them on the back of having a riot.
And Tobias is one of my classmates from the Isla Whiskey Academy.
Oh, fantastic. So he's making the trip back again.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I recognise the name. Yeah. Tobias, thank you for your dram. And thanks to the Whiskey Franco as well. Thanks to you both. Cheers. I've moved on to the second one, Leanne.
Okay. Oh, I guess I will too.
It's going to be interesting to see where we're going. Oh my goodness. Sorry, it's not for my reactions. We'll give it a saying. Looking forward to the story of the yellow bottle. Oh, I know the bottle, not the the bottler, not the bottle though. Personally, he also has a shop in Berlin and organises whiskey fairs. Oh,
Oh,
that's not going to give you much of a clue, by the way. And everyone, it's good to see you, buddy. Saying ahoy, malt mates, and my friend Lee. Good to see you.
hey,
Good to
friend.
see you, our NASA pal Chris. MJ Rodney saying, and Aquaviti and fellow barflies, just back from a 2-week honeymoon in Tuscany. Love the red wine, but now I'm ganting for a dram. I love indulging other people through a whiskey. Terrific, MJ Rodden. I wonder where you're from, using language like ganting. Where are you from, MJ? I hope you had enjoyed Tuscany. I love Italy. I love Tuscany too. Falscraft is saying, poured myself one generous dram tonight. A 43-year-old
Oof.
Invergordon.
Oof.
43-year-old
Oof.
grey whiskey.
Wow.
What do we think of this?
This
A step change, right?
yes, and as I'm nosing it and I'm tasting it as I nose it. It's that the nose is that potent on it
Yeah.
that I
Yep.
can taste it nosing.
So it'd be interesting then for you to, after you've nosed it and tasted it, as well as giving us your notes and reaction and things, whether you detect much in the way of ABV, whether you think you can detect much in the way of age, but I don't want to challenge you. I don't want to test
Yeah.
you. This is all about the whiskey, right? And it's not just us sharing whiskey together, but
It is, and you know, I don't know that I'm pretty decent at the ABV part. Age is still something that's
it can be so tricky,
it's
right?
so tricky.
Climate and
Yeah.
active casks and various other things. I also have to say something in at the head of all of this tonight is that if I invited Leanne in here and the two of us sat down with two glasses and I said to her, here is a Glenlivet from the 70s, a Glenlivet 12-year-old distilled in the 60s, and we poured it together, that's given the moment some real reverence, right? And you know when you nose it, you're gonna feed that into the experience. So it's already amplifying the experience for you.
Right.
So I'm actually stripping a lot of things away from Leanne doing this blind tonight because some treats like this, she's just kind of having to go on her. But that's what I wanted to do tonight, and hopefully, if the first one went, we were thirsty. First one went quickly, but there's always more. There's always more in the bottle. That if she wants to kind of have that moment of reverence and just kind of you just wallow in the fact that some of these are really quite old whiskies.
This is really lovely.
It's really quite alive,
rich.
isn't it?
It's very rich, and I'm trying to muster my words because I'm usually not shy of coming up with words, as most people may know.
Cheers. It's one of the most rich is very good. It's very rich, ridiculously rich given for what it is. It's one of the most decadent pours I can reach for. And I've nursed this since I got this bottle. This was a gift to me. I'll tell you the story about that in a second. Our pal Zach is in. Good to see you, Zach Andrews. Give Leanne a big hug for me. So wonderful to see her there with you. Cheers, buddy, and hope we get to see Leanne be adorable. Well, she's got 7 drams to get through, if that's what you mean, Zach. So we may both be a wee bit adorable before the quiz at the end.
That is definitely a term I use, is when the drams are flowing and the fun is going. At some point, you turn adorable. So.
And if you don't, you make everyone else looks adorable to you. Julian Rickman is saying, Roy, shame to miss you in London today. Oh, shame to miss you and in London today. Oh, I had a few drams in your honour at Milroy's, and we'll catch up on the replay. Fantastic. I hope you enjoyed yourself at Milroy's. A great wee watering hole to visit. Great stuff. MJ Rodney saying previously from the mean streets of Mid Calder, now the not so mean Bridge of Allen. See, the name MJ Rodden, I always figured that you would be in the States, buddy, but no, you're just up the road. That's the Ganton word gave it away tonight. Brilliant. Good to see you. Jeff is saying that you both are always adorable. Well, you're a wee sweetheart too, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Hey.
I'll get to meet Jeff later this year. He's coming to Glasgow. So we're loving this, right?
I'm loving this, and it's voluptuous. That's my word. It's got curves. It's got some girth. I mean, it's just,
and it's beautifully clean and linear,
it is.
and you wouldn't say there's anything textured or jaggy about this.
Mm-mm.
This is all everything that speaks to us of age, I think. And I should have asked you what age you thought it was, but
No, I
what we
think
thinking
it's
on ABV?
On nose. I didn't think it was as hot as it is. It's. I mean, it's warm. It's got. I think it's over 50 for sure. Probably maybe a 52.
Okay, good.
But it's easy to drink at that. You get more of the spice and heat on the tail end. It's very balanced. Like it isn't. I mean, it's definitely a wine or sherry influenced whiskey, but it's balanced with the sweetness isn't over there.
Brilliant. So
It's
it's not. This is
what?
pure oak, American
Just
oak.
oak.
Yeah, just oak. Now, there is a chance
Man.
that in fact
guess
we'll,
that's
we'll
the
have we'll have a look
tannins.
at the spec,
Hmm.
right, and that comes from leaving it in oak for a long time.
Okay.
So this was a gift to me. The folk watching know what this is, but I can share with you. This was a gift to me from my friend Macallan Fine and Rare Doc. This is quite an innocuous label. This is a painter's label, but this is distilled in 1970. So it was bought because it was distilled on the year of my birth from Doc. He found this, and it's really hard to get a 1970 vintage. And he sent this to me for my 50th birthday, this superstar that he is.
Wow.
And in this really cool box that sits up just over the back here with all kind of maritime knots on the box. It didn't come in a box, and he felt that it needed to be in a box. So he bought a specific box for it to ship it in.
Oh.
So this is a 41-year-old. So it was distilled in 1970 and bottled in 2012. A single cask of 215 of 234. And if you look up the specs, I think you need to look at it on Whiskey Base. 234 bottles from a hoggy. I think it's just a regular hogshead.
Okay.
And 47.1% ABV. North of Scotland distillery is a grain distillery. So this is very likely to be wheat whiskey.
Huh.
I've tried to work out if there was any corn being distilled back, because I think there's a wee bit of corn to this, the sweetness, but as far as I can gather, they would have been distilling.
That's so weird.
They'd have been distilling wheat, so it's not malt whiskey, but it's resplendent stuff.
It's just.
I mean, I love barley as much as the next, malt lover. I really do. I love barley, but then you taste something like this, and you're like, no,
this. I totally get grain now. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. As soon as you know what it is, so it's not going to focus because, I can't reach the camera tonight to get it to. But you can click on the link and you can see exactly what it is. Doc, thank you very much.
That is amazing. What a gorgeous gift.
You can see how.
Yeah, you hit it. It's but to be drunk.
But if I'm going to indulge special guests, VIPs, or just myself as I'm sitting, and sometimes I push it to the back of the cabinet and things, and just to give it a bit of. It's going to be interesting to see as you come back to it as the night goes on as well. Okay.
Oh man.
Falsgraf, so there's quite a relationship to my Invergordon. Actually, I was trying to keep my poker face on when you mentioned sipping a 43-year-old Invergordon. Obviously, Invergordon's a Highland. North of Scotland, despite the name North of Scotland, it was actually in the Central Belt. It was just the name of it was North of Scotland. And I think they even produced malt whiskey at some point in the past. But this is very much grain. So really interesting. I had barely vaguely heard of when Doc bought me that, and I hadn't paid any attention to North of Scotland distillery. And it was often it's gone up in price now, but it was often very under the radar affordable back in the day as well. Obviously, I came to understand how good it was a wee bit too late.
Yeah,
like we always do. He's in. Doc is in tonight. We can't find a rare. Saying my pleasure.
That truly is.
Here's to you, my friends.
Amazing. Amazing generosity and selection.
Do you know the irony is? This is the closest thing that we have to bourbon and Scotch in terms of production and things.
Yeah.
Doc would not like this because he just doesn't. He's a malt fan. He just loves malt. But I think I think I've sent
Yeah,
him.
this
I've
is
sent him some of it. Hopefully he's tasted it and enjoys it.
Lovely.
MJ is saying, I run past the old North of Scotland canvas site every day. Diageo of the casks sitting out in the yard. What a smell. Yeah, I can imagine hundreds and thousands of casks. Terrific stuff. And Rick Johnson's brought us a wee jam to say, wow, Roy, 2 weeks in a row with American perspectives. Where can you possibly go from here? Slancher? Well,
Rick.
I've just missed out because Phil and Deepa are in town as well from Whiskey
We're
Mystery.
invading.
Yeah. They do broadcasts from San Francisco area, but they are Brits. So they're currently visiting family and we'll get to hang out with them tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you never know. I might try and bully them into coming and joining us for a vPub next week. I'll change the schedule to try and squeeze in another visitors for 3 in a row. It's always great fun for me. It's easy, lazy content for me. I hope it's enjoyable for you guys too. And Graham Young, my friend in Canada, good to see you. It's worth watching Leanne's beautiful big smile and a tribute to great company, a fine dram, and a wonderful time to travel again. Brilliant stuff, Graham. I'll raise this red. No, it's pink.
Pink.
Pink one now. And say slancher to you and slancher to Rick. Oh, I'm just going to shut the live stream down now. I'm just going to take myself off to a corner. Ignore my guests.
Oh, me. This is, and now for something completely different.
With these drams,
I can't get over this.
I love to coat the glass so that when you stick your nose in, this is a treat. Cheers.
Mark J just says, I would think this dram would shut down shut the pub down. Oh man. Again, like inhaling this smell and tasting it at the same time.
See, I don't know if it's because I know what it is that it's doing this to me, or if it's just the whiskey is just going to do this to me regardless. But when we talk about, I think the one that we had notes of you said it was rich, you said it was voluptuous, you said it curves on it and things. But I think you might agree with me that there was a simplicity to it. That kind of, I think I described it as being quite linear. You know, there wasn't a lot of kind of jagginess or things to it. This is like a flame. It flashes and flickers, and 1 minute there's a fizz there, and 1 minute you're outdoors, and the next minute you're sucking on a sweet candy, and then it's just all over the place. It's difficult for me to tie down this whiskey. Really difficult. Did I see candy instead of a sweetie there?
Ooh, rubbing off on him.
Chris Pollack is saying, could you send me a sample? Just kidding. You'd be amazed at how much of this I've shared and sent out. Red Mordecai saying, interesting comment about grain whiskey. I was just recently given what I thought was a bourbon, but it turned out to be a grain wheat-based whiskey, matured in first fill ex-bourbon barrels. I know. Sometimes it can play. This is the closest thing that Scotch has to bourbon in my mind, and this is very bourbon in style. Be interesting to give it actually, Reb, to some bourbon drinkers and see if they if they feel like it is. It probably tastes quite different to them, but for me, it's very bourbon-esque in style. Molasses is just in. I just hate all of these wonderful vPub guests. Cheers, Mike Buddy. I hope you're doing very well. Inverurie Whiskey Shop. Is that Mike?
That's Mike. Cheers, Mike.
He's
great seeing you today.
I'm looking forward to hearing all about the shop as well, Mike. Thank you very much for joining the Barflies and becoming a supporter. Cheers to you, Mike. Thanks very much. And Donner Pass Whiskies bought us a wee dram as well. Good to see you, Tim. Saying what I would give to be in Glasgow tomorrow. I know, buddy. You've been here though, and you know it's not going to be your last time. You will be back here again. Cheers, Tim, and cheers, Mike.
It's awesome.
The Rams coming in. They're making us sip this. They're making us rush this.
That's okay.
Daniel Williams is saying, sorry I missed the vPub last week. It was my birthday, but I was home so late from work and was so tired I just fell asleep. How's that for a 44th? Was that your 44th birthday?
Wow.
I hope that we did we raise a happy birthday glass last week? No, it wasn't. It was Harrow we raised a glass to last week. Daniel, many belated happy returns, my friend. Cheers
Absolutely.
to you. Happy birthday. And Danny Hebbington has just gifted 10 memberships to 10 lucky Barflies. Danny, you're a generous man and a superstar. Thank you very much. Many happy returns, Daniel.
That's awesome. Mm.
They're making us bench this.
Mm.
Right. So where are we going to go on the ABV? Let's keep it simple. What's the ABV of this? What are you thinking?
It's north of 52.
Okay, north of 50. And at what kind of age would you put on this? See, for me, there's a lot of vibrance. There's so
really
much vitality
bright.
here, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very bright and the sweet. I mean, the sweet is there. The dry mouthfeel from it.
Yeah, it's dry.
Is
yeah,
it's pretty dry.
But that's what makes it moreish, because every sip is like, go back. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you're not done with me. I need another.
What fruit would you say you're getting on this? I'm getting dried orange. Sweet orange.
Yeah.
Orange oil even.
More, yeah, but not furniture polish, and not, it's more of like I was talking earlier about the expressed oil off of the skin. Like if you were making an old fashioned and you did a lemon twist or an orange twist on that spritz of oil.
But it's not sharp or bitter like lemon. It's more, it's a sweeter thing. So it's an oil. Are you finding the drink, despite it being dry, are you finding it in any way oily at all, especially on arrival?
Yeah. I mean, it's,
once you know what this is, you'll look for the traits and you'll find the traits just by perhaps power of suggestion, or just by looking for it, you find it. My goodness, it's just, if this was the only whiskey that we could drink, well, we'd have to be a lot wealthier than we are.
So on your orange, I'm almost thinking like an orange and raisin compote, like simmered down, and I don't know how to explain it. Almost like a preserve, not super sweet, but it's more of the concentration of that orange
citric element, yeah.
But there's an underlying sweetness, like a yellow raisin. To me, a yellow raisin.
Oh.
I don't know if y'all do yellow raisins. Yeah. I make my grandmother's fruitcake most every year, and she would douse it in Old Crow, and it has just enough flour to keep all the pieces together, but it's predominantly cherries, dates, regular raisins, and golden raisins, and
chewy,
pecans,
moist.
So the pecans, you get this dry, that like a walnut or a dry, pecan type, and that's what this was reminding of. My brain went to my grandmother's fruitcake, not in the sense of a sherry bomb type thing, like people sometimes will equate with fruitcake. But it's that element of citrus with a little bit of that golden raisin.
I get all of it.
But you don't.
I'm also getting a bit of, it's not bitter, I don't want it to, but it's sour. There's a sour thing. Are you getting any smoke on this? Would you suggest that there's any smoke on this whiskey?
On the finish, more of a char.
I don't even get it on the finish.
You don't?
But in the empty glass.
Yeah.
When you go back to the empty glass after it's been sitting, and the smoke is obvious.
Really?
Yeah, but when you
tasting, I don't really get the smoke.
Never.
I get kind of like on the finish. I want to say sometimes on Glen Scotia's especially, I get a char on the finish.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And when you get it, it's unmistakable. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like if you've ever nosed a barrel, if you've ever just been close to a stave, there's a very specific note. Yeah. It's something that you shouldn't, it's almost, for it to be a flavour, it is almost an odd thing, but you get it. It's not smoke. It's not smoke. It's not ash or soot either, but it's in that vague area. And I think sometimes we say char because we can't label it as anything else, because we know that it's perhaps not a smoky or peaty whiskey, right?
Right. Because, we smoke all kinds of things over in the States. I mean, we're barbecue happy, right?
Yeah,
And
especially in the southern states, right?
yes,
Yeah.
and well, and it was a necessity for preservation of food,
Yep.
you know. So in that sense, you've got certain smokes and certain woods that we like. We do a lot of pecan smoking, and again, there's that fruity element to that smoke of like an apple wood or a pecan wood, as opposed to oak or mesquite.
Yes.
Those are going to be more savory smoke flavors, where an applewood and a pecan are going to be a fruitier type smoke.
But we're in this kind of like aromatic kind of, it's wood-based smoke, which is
Mhm.
quite a different thing from, you know, burning grass or burning coal
Hay or something like,
yeah,
yeah.
and or
Oh
charcoal.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
Anthony
Y'all.
Lambert is saying, to think that in the 80s, as a young soldier in a mess, I was drinking Macallan when I lived at Highland Park, etc. Why didn't I buy a few bottles and pack them away? Would love to try them now. Anthony, hindsight, right? 2020
Yeah.
vision and
But you
everything.
had them. Wow.
Yeah, at least you had the wherewithal and the
You had
presence and the
something I won't ever see.
opportunity to drink it. In the 80s, well, I was too young to drink alcohol in the 80s, but when I was, whiskey was probably one of the last things I wanted to sip. The Whiskey Rev is in. You're kidding on. I managed to hang out with the Rev last weekend. It was brilliant to see. And you know what's kind of funny is that I'm sitting here with you and I'm pouring you my best whiskey. When the Whiskey Rev was here, that I didn't have, I wasn't, that's what we used to do in the old days. But when he's here now, it's not my best. He's probably had the majority, I hope, of what we're sipping tonight with me. But what I'm giving to him is what's excited me most recently.
Yeah.
Which is a different thing
Yeah.
from the best whiskies, right? It's the things that's fresh in my mind. So hopefully, big guy, you've tasted a lot of these things that we're sipping, and it's nice to see you. And I also noticed that the Grail are in as well. It's Jen and Rachel up at the Grail in Calendar.
Awesome.
Great fun. Good to see you. So is it time for us to reveal
It
what this
is.
is?
I just want to go on record to say I don't feel like I'm worthy of all of these fabulous drinks, but I'm going to take and sip each one of them gladly.
Well, you saved a wee bit of that one.
I did. I'm saving a little bit of everything except that first one. The first one's gone. It's a gone pecan.
This is Brora.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
So
Okay.
this is a 50th birthday from the family to me and from me to me. So there's no way I could ever afford it. But
Roy.
I always
Roy.
thought, I know, I always thought that, you know, one day I'll get the Brora, but it was £600, £700. It got more and more expensive. And I thought, no. And then it should get more expensive. And then my buddy Scott Monroe said, I just did it. And he was celebrating a milestone as well. He realised he was becoming more and more in tune with his mortality, like we do. And I thought, I've got my 50th as the excuse, and he's had the courage to just do it, right?
Yeah.
I said, I have to do it. I have to do it. But of course I didn't do it. But then my son wrote me a note saying for my 50th birthday. And in the card, you open the card and there's a note in it that said, Dad, I will make it my life mission to buy you a bottle of Brora. So I don't know what this, he'd have been 8 years old or something at this time. And I thought, well, what am I doing? Why am I not? So Lynn, instead of buying me a gift that year, she gave me money. The in-laws gave me money, friends gave me money. I put all the money together, and then what was missing to make it up, I put the rest to it. And I managed to get the bottle of Brora. And it's kind of like if we were to buy it now, you know, that was 2020. If we were to buy it now, it's probably some hundreds more to buy it. So I only sip this on very rare occasions. I have shared it with quite a few people, but I'm still tearing through it at far too fast a rate. Brora is a fabulous, fascinating story. I hope most of you out there, the knowledgeable whiskey folk, will know the story of Brora. But it's one of these wonderful serendipitous happenstance things, and it was not designed to be as good as it ended up being. It was just one of these, you know, whiskey takes care of itself, right? It was just going to do its thing. But now it's the product of, you know, the high net worth. If you want to go and visit the new brought back to life Brora, built on a reputation of enthusiasts and geeks discovering it, but no, it's not the possession of those geeks and enthusiasts anymore, unfortunately. Just a tour is £150. Now, it may be because they're pouring you some really, really rare liquid or something like that, But to me, that's a hand
Mm.
immediately to say this is not for you anymore.
Yeah.
So to have it is even more of a privilege.
That
to
is
be able to share
amazing.
it with you
Thank
is
you.
a privilege
Oh,
too.
my word, friend.
Just finish it. I'll top it up. Don't worry.
Oh, gosh.
So there we go.
Okay, where that was voluptuous, this is exquisite. How about that? I'm gonna have all the words tonight.
So we dram come in.
Oh,
Seaweed World. So good to see you. I don't know if I know who that is, but I won't say your name just in case. Sherry.
yes.
You know?
I remember.
Yeah.
Yes, Victoria Whiskey Festival. Absolutely. It's great seeing you.
Leanne met at my first Victoria Whisky Festival. Called you Julie.
Yeah, it's okay.
We're in the same 3 masterclasses. Celebrated my 44th anniversary yesterday.
Awesome.
50 years together. Oh my goodness.
Wow. That's great.
Congratulations.
Absolutely.
We're raising it here.
We're gonna, no, I got a little bit. No, I got a little bit in there. A little bit in.
No, you need more than a little bit in there.
Okay. I'm never gonna say no to that.
There we go.
Oh my gosh, Roy. That's amazing. That's
Congratulations,
absolutely
Sherry.
amazing, friend.
Cheers to you.
Mm.
Roy, you deserve a proper dram. Well, Des, I've got plenty. What I consider proper drams. Jeff is saying, but do you think you would dare give that Brora a little slap? Just for you, Jeff? Live on the vPub? Absolutely.
And there we go.
Jeff's managed.
That's a love tap. That's what that was.
He had one of the tour guides having a tour. He was all over the place. He was at Strathyla, he was at Talisker, and everywhere. And he's standing with his bottles slapping, and he'd sent all the videos in. And Jeff shared it on his recent review of Lagavulin 16. I enjoyed it very much, Jeff. It was a great review. Everybody have a wee look at Jeff. It's just such easy to watch content. He's got a very mellow, calm, tongue-in-cheek way of delivering things, but he's also very good at editing and making it funny. So you always have a giggle at a Jeff Whisky video. It's really funny. I love the wee outtake when you were talking about how you indulge talking about the branding. There are very few. They're not few, but there are no channels out there that talks about branding the way that Jeff talks about branding. So it's obviously his career and his job and so the branding, the motive side of the branding specifically is quite close to his heart. And Rob Halford is celebrating the whiskey slap as well. Good to see you, Rob. Terrific stuff. I hope my 5-month-old daughter has the same wish. He said, I'll also accept a St. Magdalene. One of the best whiskeys I ever had, and it was very early in my journey. I probably would appreciate even more now. It was a 19-year-old rare malts St. Magdalene. Even at 19 years old, it had been bottled around about the year 2000, I think. I'm not sure. It was a 1979 vintage. 19 years old, it was still north of 60% ABV.
Oof.
Because back in the day, they were filling at still strength.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And
that makes sense.
There was all of these rare malts released at really high ABV, even with really decent ages on it as well.
Interesting.
Gian, good to see you, Gianluigi. He's saying, hi, Roy, just stopping by to say hi, and we'll catch up on replay. Good to see you in. I hope you're doing very well, buddy. Dramming around, it's just this really cool tour guide type experience, or not tour guide, but tour experience Instagram account where they're just giving you. We toured here today, and there's a blog, the Dramming Around blog on the back of it too. Great fun. Graham Fraser's saying Brora is £250, but a minimum of 2 people per booking. Okay, so it's changed again. So it's now £250.
When I was at Clynelish this week, they were talking about the Brora experiences, is what they called them. There is a half day and almost a full day, so it's a thing. It's a big, kind of a production. But but
it's still kind of. I understand it. I don't get me wrong. I understand it. It still breaks my heart a wee bit. And Ben Whiskey with Molly saying, does slapping it change the flavour profile? Maybe for an instant, but we'll let it settle before we drink any more, Ben. Al is saying, good evening, Roy. Good to see you, Al. Long time since I managed to catch a live vPub. Buddy, it's always wonderful when you do drop in and catch a live one. Right, we've started with 3 pretty decent pours. Let's keep the ball
You're
in the
funny.
air as we.
You're real funny.
Let's
The
keep the ball in
comedian.
the air and move on to the blue. If you've got the blue in front of you, yeah.
I do.
Oh,
Okay.
this is interesting. This is interesting.
He says like he doesn't know what it is.
Well, I do know what it is, but it's still interesting how it works. And I think what's interesting is that when you go to a tasting, there's a lot of work that goes into the lineup. What dram to start
Yes.
with and what dram to finish on. And sometimes they start with low ABV, finish on high ABV, no smoke, heaviest, most peatiest. I think the general rule of thumb is based on some kind of intensity of flavour. So the lightest to the most intense is kind of the rule of thumb. I always find where the whiskies reveal themselves the most is at the point where your palate should probably be its most fatigued. You've finished the flight and you go back to the little pores that you've still got left in the glass, and they taste completely different from they did the first time around. Sometimes for the better, sometimes to their detriment, but it's just fascinating to do it. What I've always loved about whiskey is that ability to sip in contrast. So I'm very familiar with this blue whiskey, but it's nosing and tasting. And I don't mean this in a positive or negative way, but it's certainly different from what I've ever experienced it before. Tom Elmer is in. Tom from Alaska.
Hey, Tom.
What grabbed me today? Sorry, I'm late. Cheers to you both, Leanne and Roy. Good to see you, and Tom. Always amazing to see you, buddy. By the way, Tom Elmer's bottle of Booker's is now live at Scotch Whisky Auctions. If anybody's interested, it's a charity fundraiser. I'm going to share the link for that lot number in the description below if anybody wants to help raise money for the Ben charity, the charity that Jenny Carlson was raising for last year. You might remember that live during that vPub, we decided that instead of opening and drinking the Booker's gifted to us from Tom, that we would auction it and give the money instead. So I'll share the link for that. I put it into auction last week.
So that year you were not able to come to Austin.
Yeah.
He gifted me that Booker's. And we also raised money for our Toys for Tots in our local group, and it brought a good penny. So he's done has a big impact on a lot of people. So Tom,
cheers to you, Tom.
Cheers.
I need to actually write down to remind myself to make that note. Booker's link. Don't you read this wee list next to me?
You see these? I don't have them all. It could be right under my nose and I would be able to see it.
So I have not put much thought into, or let's say when I was starting to think about what order they should go in, I was looking at the order and thinking, that doesn't feel right. That's not going to help me do what I want to try and achieve tonight. So I just decided I messed around with the order a little bit and then kind of almost randomized it a little bit. With no real thought. So Michael Wright is saying, were you planning on lining up the bottles along the shelf behind? Oh, see, it's almost like having a production team.
There you go.
There we go.
I'll be Vanna White.
Yeah. We've got our North of Scotland up next to the Glenlivet, and we've got our Brora. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for helping us out. You're absolutely spot on. You're absolutely
great.
Right. I don't know how well people can see it, but I guess they can make it out. And Sandro Fazzolari from Italy is saying, after a Brora, everything will taste better. Ciao from Italy. Fantastic. That's a good sentiment, isn't it? Ciao to you, Sandro. Class is saying, now I just had that geographical triangle in front of my eyes. Louisiana, Scotland, Alaska. This community, it's amazing.
It is.
This community is amazing.
Crazy. And all through Texas, because that was the connection. That was the place for the connection.
That's right. And I guess that was a YouTube connection there.
Yeah.
So then we can, another arm goes out to reach Falscraft class in Germany, right? Who have got to hang out with and enjoy drams with. Rod Graham's in tonight, is he? Is Roddy in? Somebody's speaking to Rod Graham. I wonder if that's our Roddy. I would have seen a lot more Roddy emoji popping up, I'm sure. if you are in, buddy. He is here. There he is. He's talking to Inverary Whisky Shop.
Mm.
Good to see you, Roddy. I hope you're keeping well, buddy. Thanks for dropping in.
Talking
Ian
shop.
Bruce is saying, so that's how the bottle shock happens. Aye, by Jeff Whisky and slapping it and getting other folk to slap it. Highland Hamish is saying, great to meet Leanne in Inverness this week.
Yes.
Oh, you got to meet Hamish, did you?
It was.
I'll be down in Glasgow Saturday as part of the Inverness Cali Thistle invasion. Of course, Inverness Cali Thistle are coming down to face Celtic in the cup final this weekend.
I heard there's a couple of big games going on.
Exciting times, yeah. And in the past, Cali Thistle has been a bogey team for Celtic, so it's going to be an interesting weekend. And Rob Smith is saying Vanna on the Bayou.
That's it.
Terrific.
Can I buy a vowel?
I didn't realise Leanne was in the Highlands. Well, not the real Highlands. Well, yes. So Ryan's at 8 Doors, which is currently the most northerly distillery in the mainland.
Oh, wow.
So it used to be Old Pontley, then it was Wolfburn, now it's 8 Doors.
You know, so Ryan, I first was like, I'll get up there and I'm going to go all the way to Wick because I like to drive, okay? And then I really had to understand I just need to do so much. So I had to pull Old Pulteney from this lineup, but I'll get there. I'll get to Wick eventually, but I also wanted to enjoy my time, and it has been a fantastic week, regardless of the limited.
And you're only a third in.
I'm only a third in, and now I have my full wardrobe, so it's all good.
Our case finally turned up yesterday.
After a week.
Listen, so many people are having these baggage problems right now. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Goodness.
Tim is saying, I have to drive now, so I'll catch the rest later. I know you're working, Tim. It's so nice to you to drop in, buddy. Don't work too hard. Rod Graham, Roddy is saying good evening, Roy.
Look at all the Roddies.
The Roddies.
She could never get too much Roddy.
we need to get him a t-shirt with that on it, right?
Right.
So what are we thinking about blue then? If anybody's wondering what blue is, if you look at the link in the live chat, it's also, if you're picking it up in the replay, it'll be underneath as well. You can click and see what color blue is.
Yep. And Mike, he's en route. The last plane out of Heathrow. So he's had a long 24 hours, but he's on his way.
This is Leanne's husband, Mark, who was supposed to be here to eat with us tonight.
Yes.
But no, he's had to eat solo in Heathrow. And
they gave him £10 voucher. Go have.
Well, good luck finding food in Heathrow for £10.
Yeah, right.
You might find a Boots sandwich or something. But he's due to arrive
his
while
heart.
we are broadcasting, and hopefully Lynn will make him feel comfortable at some spot in the house, get him on the Wi-Fi, and then we'll pour him something nice to welcome him once we finish. Poor guy. So what are we thinking?
Oh, me. It started off hot and now it's mellow, and I mean, not hot. I mean, like it was okay. There's some ABV.
Yep.
And then it's just mellowed out to where there's not. This is dangerously sipping.
This is a revelation whiskey for me. I shunned this whiskey for years, even though some people were saying, "Roy, I think you should get to know this." And then my first bottle, got through it a bit too quickly, replaced it again, suddenly got through that very quickly. And I think in the space of 2 years, I've probably got through 6 bottles of this whiskey. When I talk about my best whiskey, I am not just talking about whiskey that's difficult to get a hold of, rare, legendary, unicorn, unobtainium. I'm talking about things that are compelling. And some people that I share this with get it and they love it. Other people are like, okay. When I pour it for people blind is when it's at its most impactful. But I am asking this whiskey to work on the back of a 35-year-old Brora, right?
That is a hard act to follow, but this is.
But I think this has got. It's not going to compete with the Brora. It's not going to be expected to. We're not asking it to do that. But what we're asking for is for it to come along and be an enjoyable sip, despite us just having sipped one of the legends of malt whiskey, right?
And isn't that what you really want from a whiskey, is for it to hold its own? Just do what you need to do to be a good whiskey.
Chris Pollack is saying the taste of blue always reminds me of a cake my grandmother used to bake. I'm right there with you. But this is, rather than the kind of fruit and citric side that Leanne was talking about with the last dram. I think this is in the cooking spices, the baking spices realm of things. You know, we're talking about a
This is a little clove and cinnamon.
A little flake of ginger as well, I would say.
Yeah, especially in the finish, huh?
Yep, absolutely. Just, you know, the sweet, almost like sweet carrot cake, sweet cake. Absolutely. The Christmas cake element, no doubt. Black Finish saying, I enjoyed this one blind when Aquaviti gave me a sample of it. Oh, see, I like to do it because this, unfortunately, it's a wonderfully presented whiskey, wonderfully natural, but there is something about it's yet to be discovered and celebrated the way it should be. I think this is a wonderful whiskey.
Oh,
I'm also going to go one further tonight because what I was looking for when I said it, this was unexpected. I thought sipping it on the back of the Brora would bring out. I'm going to convince myself that it's there. It would bring out what I sometimes get in it, but I didn't get it tonight, was a meaty element. Sometimes it's beef stock. Sometimes it's sweaty. Sometimes
sweaty sock, like when you turn the aircon on the first time.
A funk. Let's call it a funk.
I got the funk straight off of taking the lid.
Okay.
Because I was like, roll the tape back. I had a whoa kind of, yeah. The funk was straight on in the beginning.
It reminds me of what I used to enjoy about Mortlach back in the days when I could afford Mortlach from a sherry cask.
Yeah.
Now, not all of this that's in the glass, this one is from a sherry cask, but as the years have gone by, this has become much more sherried. It's completely darker, or it's moved towards the sherry flavor profile as the years and the batches have gone on.
Okay.
And I think that it's become richer, hence why Chris thought it was more of a Christmas cake experience. Right, ABV. What do you think ABV is? Gingerbread at Christmas time. Spot on it, Tom. I'm there. You're probably not even sipping this, but you get the theme. TF is saying, cheers, a lovely evening with Leanne. Up early tomorrow. Catch the rest on replay. Love the inclusion of the blue label. Agree on the bacon spices. So good to have you in as well, TF. Rest well and hope you can pick the rest up on the replay, buddy. Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying, tough job indeed after a Brora, but for some very old, I understand, is complexity. If it was 30-year-old OB, it would be another story. Last dram of this lineup, most probably. Oh, don't be giving anything away. My friend in Paris, Tom Elvis, that was the gingerbread comment. So, ABV.
46, 48-ish.
Spot on, 46%. Yep. Age?
Say 12, 15.
Spot on. Absolutely spot on. This is... People in the vPub are sick of me talking about this whiskey. Speyburn 15.
Awesome.
£55 I paid for this. It's more expensive now. It's at 62, 63, 65 of that order now. But it's a 15-year-old malt whiskey of that quality.
That held its own, especially after that dram.
But that's the thing, is like if I'm going to evangelize and I'm going to bang on about something and talk about it, it's like, you know, I have to test myself as well. I'm pour it on the back and it's just like, okay, let's see how it goes on the back of the Brora. Let's see how it comes off. I am very happy that, I have to say, when I nosed it and in my first sip of it, I was looking for that weight and the funk and all the stuff that I usually get from it. You got it, I didn't, despite the fact I was looking for it. It came off, you know, much kind of, immediately I got a younger, a more youthful note from it. And it just tasted like a run-of-the-mill, almost like a sherry finish type thing. But a few sips into it, it started to coat the palate and readjust, you know, the receptors and things. And it came round, and suddenly halfway through the dram, I'm like, okay, this is why I love this whiskey. Graham Bowney saying, I've still to try it. You're not trying hard enough, Graham. Do I take a punt on a bottle, or would the Bon have it behind the bar? I think there's a very good chance the Bon or the Pot Still, some places going to have it. Graham, we're all out at the Pot Still tomorrow.
Yes.
So
some point.
between the hours between 5 and midnight tomorrow evening, because we have to eat and things, right?
Yes. Yeah, we do.
We will be. There's loads of barflies, hopefully, all going to be meeting up in the Pot Still in Glasgow City Centre tomorrow. Very much often would be at the Bon, sometimes SMWS, sometimes the Piper or more, or wherever it's going to be. But it just so happens that the most central place tomorrow night is the Pot Still. So anybody that's hanging out in Glasgow tomorrow night, Graham, maybe you want to come along and see if they've got a Speyburn 15 at the Pot Still. I tell you what, buddy, if you're there, I'll buy it for you. Awesome. Martin Fielder is saying maybe you'll see it this time, Roy. Oh, did I miss you, Martin?
Martin,
did you have to buy the 2 drams? Oh, Martin, now I'm feeling really, really bad. I think I might have missed his.
Uh-oh.
And that's 4 eyes on the chat tonight. Slanty y'all, nice to see you treating Leanne right. Greetings from a fellow Southerner in the USA.
That's
Enjoy
right.
your course.
Martin is awesome.
Martin, thank you very much for being a great supporter and friend. And I didn't appreciate that you were somewhat local to Leanne.
Yeah.
Cheers, buddy.
Just one state over. But
Alabama or Texas?
Texas.
Texas. Is it Alabama's the other one?
Oh, no, Mississippi.
Mississippi.
It's in between us and Alabama, thankfully.
Oh, okay.
No offense.
Then so it's Mississippi, then Alabama, is it?
Oh, my goodness.
Adrienne Madrigal is saying, Ralphie, I just gave 81 to Speyburn 15. But I think we're noticing generally that Ralphie is really choking back on his scoring. He's really trying to rein it in. And I think he's doing a lot of recorrect. I think he's talked about it in a video quite a while ago. So we're seeing a lot of kind of low, what we would expect to be low scores. So we're having to recalibrate as he recalibrates his, which is hard to do after 12 years of scoring, right?
Yeah.
But Ralphie's Ralphie. We wouldn't want it any other way. He does it his way, and that's the way we've come to know. That's going to be a messy evening, says or to be in Glasgow, Helen. No.
No.
We're professional sippers. Don't worry.
Everybody's going to be talking with a Southern accent, though, by the time we're finished.
Or you're going to be in a Glaswegian accent.
And I've already started saying sorry, and Denna.
Denny.
You didn't have to stop drinking. No.
Gav's Ram is saying, just might pop into the Pot Still tomorrow night, Gav. Yay. That would be amazing to see you, buddy.
Love it.
Make it along if you can. He's coming through from the other end of the country as well.
Oh, my goodness.
Cheers, buddy. I don't know what time we're going to be there, but when we do get there, I think we'll be settling in. We'll make a little nest somewhere.
Yeah.
See how we got on. Okay, so we're very happy. Speyburn 15 did a decent job, I think, right?
Oh, look at these. I mean,
yeah.
His Havana White, this, goodness gracious.
Let's go.
This is what you call putting on your Sunday best for the for the company that comes to town.
But it's for me as well. You need to understand. I'm not being generous to you. I'm being very generous to myself. I'm giving myself the perfect excuse to treat myself. This is we're on to purple now. Purple.
If I can help with that, let me know.
There's very specific things about this whiskey that I want to talk about, but I'm not going to say any of it in the hope that you might pick up something yourself first. Seb is saying, get Leanne to say pure dead brilliant.
Pure dead brilliant?
Pure dead brilliant, yeah. It's a very Glaswegian thing. I think we used to say it back in the 90s, though, Seb.
Pure dead brilliant.
I've not heard it for many years, pure dead brilliant. Hellswood is saying, nothing a rolling sausage and an iron brew won't cure. That's right. And that might be your breakfast tomorrow. It might be the necessary breakfast tomorrow, the perfect hangover cure. Have a ticket going to the Leiden Whisky Festival on the 10th in case anyone still needs one. And Daniel, I know that I would love to. Do you know I even looked at flights? And I could get flights into Schiphol, but there's just that the weekend, 8th, 9th, 10th, it's impossible. There's just so much on, and it's all, I have to pick the battles, right?
Yeah.
But I was looking at Leiden. Daniel, if I don't see you there, maybe next year, if Rotterdam goes ahead or something, I would love to join a festival with you. But there's a spare ticket going for Leiden on the 10th, and get in touch with Daniel Williams. And he said, let me know. Otherwise, I'll have to give it back on Saturday. It'd be nice if there was a barfly able to make it into Holland. Holland is, I think Leiden is in actually Holland, but the Netherlands, sorry. Ian Bruce is saying, does Leanne know what is the most southerly US whiskey distillery? What a great host tonight, Roy. Thanks for allowing us to share the excitement and experience. Thank you, Ian. I'm glad that you can somehow vicariously enjoy it too. Do you know what the most southern distillery is? Do you think that might be a question in the quiz at the end, Ian?
No. I'm guessing it would be in Florida. I'm not sure.
Brian Sutherland is saying, I need to invent some form of transport that isn't a 5-hour to drive to Glasgow. I know, Ryan. Catapult works, but you don't arrive very comfortable.
I'm waiting for the Star Trek beam me up, Scotty, to Scotland kind of thing.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. As long as the luggage comes along with you, it'd be all good.
There's very, very specific flavors in this whiskey that I am only now understanding how amazing they can be. It's tropical. It's guava. Do you have guava? It's very rare to see it here, but it's got a very distinctive kind of almost overripe, bordering on herbal type.
Like almost fermented fruit.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. But this is mango and there's a saltiness to it. There's a
smoke to it.
Doc McAllen and Rare ferried. I've got one bottle sealed, and I've got this one that's opened. And Doc ferried another one. It turned out to be his last one to me at Limburg, so I could pick up another one. So just to have another backup of this whiskey, I love it so. I love it.
What is that like in that mid-range? It's almost like it's not really a malt. It's more like a glue or almost a sourdough starter.
Well, this distillery, I don't know if this helps you much, but it's famous for having an almost floral, herbal,
herbal. Okay, that's what
lavender element.
Okay, because it's not quite. It's creamier than lemongrass. I know that sounds strange.
It is absolutely, utterly unique. This is a distillery that, unfortunately, most of the official range from the distillery is really poor. It doesn't represent what they can make. But this is an official bottling that is just absolutely fantastic. Stewie Baby, good to see you, Stewie. Good evening, Roy. Late, just back home from Glasgow. Did the Bonaccord quiz last night and didn't get a pass mark. Maybe you'll do better tonight, Stewie. I hope you can make it back to Glasgow tomorrow night for the pot still. We've just mentioned it between 5 and midnight. We'll be there for some time, but we just don't know when we're going to arrive. It'll be myself, Leanne, Scotty Monroe's going to be there. Some other folk are coming in, and I'm going to be hopefully bringing along Phil and Deepa from Whisky Mystery.
That'd be awesome.
Amazing. They're beautiful. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're so nice.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Yes, I'll try again. I'm going to shut up. Max is shouting, laughing. He's either shouting at me or he's laughing.
Mike from Inverary, I saw today. Mike was a classmate at Hollywood with me and does some amazing things up in Inverary. And he said if he knew what this lineup was, he would have come down here with me. I love it. This is
maybe next time, Mike. Maybe next time. So let's go with ABV then on this one.
This one I'm going like 50-51.
Okay.
Why do you look at me like that?
Did you see that? 50-51. Right, and what age would you think?
I'm not good at age. I mean, I know when I taste it better or I'm more youthful. I can usually taste youth, but I'm not always good at tasting age. Does that make sense?
This is non-age stated.
Okay, then.
So even if you stabbed it and made a guess, but it's absurd that you would say, oh, I don't. It's probably quite a vatting.
Yeah.
It's probably some young spirit in here, but also potentially some mature things in here as well. Are you enjoying this?
I am. It's very different. And to that point, there's a vibrance to it and a levelness to it. You know what I'm saying?
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. There is nothing here that would make you say this is too youthful, too new. But there is nothing particularly ridiculously aged about it. It's somewhere around almost the way that a teenage Scotch might appear, right? Often.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know how, I would love to know how I first came around this bottle and became obsessed with it. And it would have been around the same time, I think, that there was a very expensive expression from an independent bottler from this distillery. It was an 18-year-old. It was super expensive, but it was just gorgeous, and I loved it so much. But a lot of the flavor characteristics we were all enjoying from that, the mango, the rich tropical fruit, was available to me in this. And it also brought out the vibrance that you mentioned, came across to me as a wee bit coastal, a wee bit salty.
Yeah.
Almost a mineralic quality to it as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And it just made it so, I obsessed about it. And again, it was one of these, you can score a whiskey, you can give it 4 or 3 or 5 stars out of 5,
Mm-hmm.
A, B, C, minus, whatever you want to do.
Right.
What really betrays how much you love a whiskey is the level
It's just
and the bottle, right?
and how fast and
Right.
the speed at which it disappears.
Yeah, and if you look on the shelf and it's gone, it's gone because it's one that you're struggling to reach past and you're super, super enjoying.
I really like this finish. The finish is, I mean, you had an element of the sweet. It goes kind of sour, and then I get the salinity on it. And I want to say there's a hint of smoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't pick up much smoke, but I know it to be there. Again, it's an empty glass smoke for me.
Okay.
Falscraft is saying, Leah, if you could beam, you could sleep at home and come back the next day.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't be
Beam me
spending
up
24
Scotch, he
hours
says, yeah.
traveling over here.
Everyone saying you have the next best thing. The best thing is being charbroiled oysters in Scotch, Leanne and Mark.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. So we were able to do that in New Orleans with Chris and pour whiskey on char-grilled oysters. It was exquisite.
They do that on
Yes.
Isle at the Fischel. Sometimes they'll give you drams to pour on oysters. And Falscraft is saying, personally, I think it's a waste of drams and oysters. You can drink them together, but
it's good. It's good. Good.
Class is saying the most interesting one in the lineup tonight. Interesting in itself. Kilted Moose, Scotty, good to see you. That bottle was tanned on the Isle of Sea adventure boat. Happy days. That's right. Was it me that bought that bottle, or was it Scotty? It's amazing.
That was about this time last year, wasn't it?
It was June last year.
Yeah, because of
and every time we tell stories about it, they become more fantastic.
They get bigger and bigger, just like the fish stories.
Jeff Whisky saying, sadly having to parachute an early start. Great vPub. And Leanne, slap on and cheers. Good to see you, buddy. I hope you're keeping well.
Take care.
Ben is saying, tried this first at your house, Aquavite. I bought a bottle a week later. Amazing, good stuff. And Sandra is saying, Leanne is really good picking up everything. Bravo. Or brava, of course.
Thank you.
Brava, because George Ellis saying, all my bottles, I think I love them based on level. Yeah, all my bottles. George, keep toiling, my friend, keep toiling. Okay. You said 50 to 51% ABV.
I've also had 5 drams, so I'm out. I'm hoping my palate holds out.
51.5% ABV.
Look at me.
This is an honest statement. You picked up a wee bit of smoke.
Okay.
But it's ever so delicate, right?
Yes, it's
there.
It's there, but it's just
more
a kiss
detectable
of
than the
smoke.
Brora, right?
Yes. It's a kiss of smoke. It's just a scooch.
But for me, this is all about that mineralic, coastal, tropical fruit craziness.
Yeah.
Oh wow. This is this is €57. I was buying it from Europe. It sold out in the UK by the time I discovered it. I was buying it €57 a bottle. It was available in Germany. I think it's pretty much sold out now. But you see the dark blue box up on the shelf there?
Bunkered.
Yep. And there's a glass bottle down there as well. So I'm very grateful to have that. Let's quickly move on then to our green and see how this presents. Tom is saying, must try that with some oysters in time, but do they allow you to walk the beach with a bottle of whiskey? No,
I don't think that would be as odd as some may think.
Fischel, anything goes, Tom. Or on Isla, anything goes. It doesn't need to be Fischel week. The oysters, if on the way up, you can stop at. There's a couple of places actually on the way up the west coast, but one of the places you can stop at is Loch Fyne Oysters and pick up your oysters and try it. Take them with you. Shuck them yourself. So how's the green sitting with you?
I ain't mad at it.
For me tonight, especially after having my nose in that Bamore, you might need to sip.
I had a bit of water, just to kind of
open things up a bit.
Yeah. And I don't know what y'all have blooming other than the rapeseed that fields.
Oh, yes.
Unbelievable. They're so gorgeous.
The Whisky rep was down at the weekend
Ah.
and he said, "Oh, is your car covered in pollen right now?" And I was like, "No, not really." And he said, "Well, where we are, there's clouds of pollen." Next day I came
Yeah.
out and the bonnet of the car, it's a black car,
Yeah.
but you could see this yellow, it's like it's just a thick layer of pollen.
Ours
so-
does it when we have, like, the pine is going back at home, but driving through Scotland, it's much easier driving this time than in 2016 when I first came over. I'm not nearly as weirded out being on the other side of the road,
Yep.
but just the expanse of fields that are just solid yellow from
Yeah.
the rapeseed
Yep.
plants and all. It's just gorgeous.
Especially when
grass.
they're contrasted to the green fields, and then and use this
It's just
square of yellow, right?
amazing. Yeah.
And it's
And
very
everything's blooming right now.
and you've come because the weather's been so brilliant, right? Everything, the saturation, the color saturation has been dialed right
I was
up,
telling
right?
Mike this today. It's like the flowers that you see from the rhododendrons and even the wildflowers, poppies I saw today, they looked almost like fake flowers you get in a store, like in a craft store. You go to Michael's and you get some fake flowers. They're so perfect and so bright. And almost all of them are primary colors.
Yeah.
So it's like bright orange, bright yellow, bright purple, even some blue. And the lilacs were blooming in Inverness. And it was amazing.
And
It's just been gorgeous.
one of the things I always, when I've traveled, anytime I've traveled away and had wonderful times living in the States, living in the south of England, traveling to Asia, Europe, whatever it is, when you do come back to Scotland, there's a clarity in the air that you're very aware of all of a sudden, and nothing brings that home more than a sunny day.
Yeah.
It's you can literally see for miles and miles and miles, and a clear day here is just almost. And there's a sense when I come back, especially when I was living in the States, when I come home, I was living in New York.
Mm-hmm.
When I came back to Scotland in springtime, when I finally came home after months, there was a sensation of breathing was almost like drinking, because the air was it was so clear and clean that I could taste it.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel how clean the air was, which I'd never been in a place where they were challenged for air clarity or whatever, like a busy place like New York City, right?
Right.
And so then to suddenly come back to Scotland and realize this thing that I'd never had even registered in my life, because it was just there. It was incidental.
Right. Just take it for granted because you're around it all the time.
Now when I travel to Spain in summer,
and
then you come back home, you're like, okay, I love the weather in Spain, but I love the air quality here, that oceanic thing.
Yep.
Pine, birch, willow, and cottonwood, all good pollen producers. Do you have Scotch broom there? I don't know.
They had the grouse, though.
Gorse.
Gorse. That's it, not grouse.
Yeah.
Grouse is a bird. Gorse is the plant.
The spiky, thorny thing with the yellow
and they're
flowers.
Bright yellow all over Speyside, all over up in the Highlands. Just
don't try and
a whole
walk through
hill
it.
full
Do
of-
not try and walk through it. Yeah.
Mm.
Ooh. So I think this is a palate thing. I think this is a juicy whiskey, juicy fruit almost. Suddenly,
like
just by the power of suggestion, you're maybe getting that juicy fruit thing.
It's like a lot going on.
Ian Bruce is saying just now it's the coconut scent from gorse, or the bluebell's colour and smell, which really activates the senses. May is my. I know it's the 1st of June, but we've had May is my favourite month.
Yeah.
Start of May, everything is brown and there's maybe just green shoots everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of May, everything is iridescent.
It is an explosion of color all over.
And May, the bugs are still in check. It's the perfect.
We're going to come in, get in and out. We know a thing or two being down in the swamp about bugs. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Ben is saying Aquaviti wears Andrew Butler pajamas. Don't listen to him.
Andrew.
Yeah. So there is a quiz tonight. Andrew Butler is our perennial 10 out of 10.
Smart guy.
Yeah. Well, very experienced.
And he's very generous in sharing his knowledge and helping. And that's the whole thing too. It's just not Andrew, it's everybody. I love so much, whether it's my show, your show, people get on and they build the community within the community, right? And they talk to each other about, different drams they might be looking for or that they've tasted, and just having that conversation. And then the depth of knowledge that's in the chat is
Oh yeah.
amazing. And I love being the conduit of bringing those folks together to be so that
Well,
knowledge is
they
shared,
talk
right?
about, oh, you've done. Actually, no. All we did is made
It's
a
all those
space.
people.
We made the space, and they come in. They create the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And how many times have you been recommended a whiskey from the community and come to love it? How many times have you learned knowledge from the community?
Right.
It's super bi-directional. It's
Things
super,
that have saved
yeah.
you money or things have made you spend money, but
Yeah.
wiser than you would have otherwise,
Aye,
That's the power behind the community,
it's a
is
privilege.
everyone.
We love it. Now, the reason that
I
you
know.
and I are sitting here, the reason that you and I have ever got together in the past is that very same dynamic as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know what channel we did originally bumped into each other on, probably Scotch 4 Dummies or Scotch Test Dummies or
Mhm.
one of those channels along the way.
It was Scotch 4 Dummies that I found you when you hosted them over here.
Yeah.
When you weren't ever going to do a challenge.
No, well, there's some truth in that. I was never going to. I didn't fancy live.
Oh, the lives.
Right. So, but I had already had a few videos out. The first
Because you had the
recycled was out.
pronunciations.
Pronunciation was out.
Right. Thank
So there was-
God for that. Can I get an amen? Thank God for the pronunciations.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, with this accent, I butcher enough as it is. But
But you're doing good now, right? You know, yeah.
pretty much. And I
Yeah.
try not to, maybe correct people. I just say it
It's
the
not
way
a
I
requirement.
thought.
It's not a requirement. But
No.
if you do learn how to say something and say something right,
But
and
you want to
then
share that.
and then you're obnoxious about it and just continue to mispronounce it, that's
Yeah.
probably a little bit.
That's a bless your heart moment.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
But yeah, I mean, I think for me it was the Scotch Test Dummies when they started to do their live broadcast. That idea that, and they reached out to other channels and
Yeah.
collaborated with other YouTube channels. This kind of neural network of the whiskey community and online started to spark and fire. And I remember that channels maybe like Ralphie and things wasn't always. He was kind of just watching it for a long time, but now he realizes and I think Ralphie actually enjoys. In fact, he's the guy that came up with the idea of the online Scotch Whisky Awards, right?
Right.
He realizes that this is a big connected community rather than individual actors and characters and things. It's absolutely, we're just almost like nodes in a network. I don't know.
Right. And now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm kind of going back. So in 2016, when I came over just to come to Scotland, and
Which distillery?
Oban.
Okay.
Oban was my introduction to Scotch whiskey. Being from the South, traditional bourbon country in Louisiana, we have an entire street named Bourbon Street in New Orleans, right? Bourbon's king.
Yeah.
And that really was never really my palate. It was very sweet to me. And I don't know, it just tasted, most bourbon to me tasted like corn syrup. So my grandmother makes, she made the best pecan pie for holidays. And you use this, what we call Karo syrup. And it's just pure, clear. You can do a dark version or a light version of corn syrup that you use as a base with egg and butter and makes the custard part, and the pecans float on top, right, when you bake it. Absolutely love it in a pecan pie. Not in my glass. And and that's not to be disparaging on anyone who does. More power to you. Enjoy it. But that just wasn't my thing, and the inquisitiveness that my brain is, because I'm a technical writer, I need to know process. I need to know how things work. I want to know, you can tell me what time it is, but how about you turn that clock around and let me see how it's working? Because then I can, reconcile that in my head to understand.
Yeah.
And after going all around Scotland, I get to Oban, and there's another one of those distilleries. They're everywhere here.
Yeah.
And all this trip was all based around a music festival in 2016 to go to Jura, of all places.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I'm headed down the West Coast. this place open. It's right there in town. I'll just go to see how that works. And I walk in, and their marketing is all about oranges and honey and vanilla. And I'm like, hold up. It's malt, it's water, it's yeast, and you put it in an oak barrel. How in the hell are you going to get all that flavor profile?
Yeah.
I had to know the process. I needed to know the process. So I took the tour. And at the end, I know it's fascinating. Just the idea that, just the idea, as we all know, who all have gone through these, in a Porteous, meal, poor folks, one and done. Now you're out of business. Your product is so great. Just the idea about, how the grist
Yep.
is made, and just overall the process, and the fact, the fermentation, there's so much that can go on there. There's so much that can go on in the mash tun. Um, there's all these opportunities for flavor along that trek. And so I'm working this out in my head, and it's great. And we get to the tasting, and I'm thinking, oh, it's going to taste like bourbon. It's going to be sweet. And I remember that salty, that salinity, a little minerality, a slight kiss of sweetness, and I was like, "Whoa, this is not bourbon. This is my drink." I mean, it was a moment that changed the trajectory of my life, because I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't know these people, or much less have a channel, but I cannot imagine not knowing the people that are in my life, because this brought them to me. And it's very profound for me. I mean, to the point where, like, I want to,
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
I feel it. I
not
feel
get
it.
emotional about it.
But we know, and so many. It's okay for you to get emotional about it in this environment, because there's so many people in the chat are tuning in tonight that
Yeah.
the reason, Leanne, the reason that it's ridiculous that I would sit behind a camera. I've never been
Right there
comfortable,
with
and
you.
then I'm just like, yeah. And yet now it's just utterly natural, and I'm grateful and privileged.
Yeah.
I told you that the silly stuff.
Yeah.
Over this tonight, this bottle, and the kids, not Lynn, they've all heard it so many times. They're just like, oh, Dad. But
No,
these things are.
they
We
matter.
are not in control. You may have made the decision to go to that distillery, but it's almost like a whiskey found you, as the
Mm.
Rev would say. Maybe he's still in. It's something that he always used to say is like whiskey finds you, whether it's a bottle, whether it's a flavour. And I predict that because of the way you discovered Scotch, and because you suddenly became much more open-minded to all of these ideas that you could get orange from just barley, yeast, water,
Yeah.
and an oak cask. You could get it. When you go back to bourbon now, you're much less dismissive, where you're like,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Because I
True.
listen to bourbon drinkers, and with their narrower, let's say, bandwidth of potential flavor profiles, I think they are very, very skilled
Mhm.
at differentiating
Oh,
bourbon
absolutely.
styles. And when it's almost like it makes you think it might be easier for us in the Scotch realm to define the flavors and things.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking about it and going, I am getting this into the weeds over something that's made from grain and water and yeast,
Yeah.
and absolutely loving it, and not running out of anything to. You just can talk about it forever and ever and ever.
It
And that's
is.
because when you walked into Oban that day, what you were actually given was passion.
Yes. I was, and I think that is the to coin a term that we use in the Deep South. That's our cross to bear.
Yeah.
It is. It is the reason I have my channel is because I want to share a voice, maybe that hasn't been out there, but to collect people to understand that this is, while very precious in the sense of a 35-year-old brewer, don't get me wrong, this 35-year-old brewer doesn't care who drinks it.
Yes.
And it doesn't have, there was no resume or list of prestige that one must hit and attain in order to enjoy whiskey. And I think a lot of times circumstance and marketing and environment has limited those who felt they had
Yeah.
a seat at the table to be able to enjoy this. And if I can sit at the end of my dock in Bufu, Egypt, Louisiana, in the swamp and enjoy a single malt, it's okay. You can do it wherever you are too, you know?
What you're talking about is reach, inclusivity,
Yeah.
the voice of everybody matters. That, there's a reason that you and I we're just Scotch living idiots, right? The
So
reason that
true.
we've stepped, and I think it's difficult for a lot of people that's maybe incumbent in Scotch, and they've maybe built up a reputation in Scotch, or they host tastings, or they write about Scotch, or whatever, and they look at
Right.
you and I, and they say, "What? Why are
Yeah.
why is there 200 and plus people hanging out with it?" Well, because they can relate,
Yeah.
and because it's the Scotch or whiskey, sorry, it has affected them in the same way. It's given them this place to come in, whether you're sitting at the end of a dock, whether you're sitting at a table, whether you're sitting alone in an armchair, wherever. It's given you this space where you've just, this is the privilege of being alive.
Yeah.
There's no other reason to enjoy this whiskey other than just to remind us of the privilege that we have of being able to. Now, I love sharing it, and the reason that you're here tonight, the reason for this whole theme of the vPub is for us to get together and share. But most of the time, Leanne, we're sitting at home, and sometimes we're alone.
Yeah.
And through this, it
We're all
doesn't
together.
need to be. It's always, whiskey gives us so much more than the flavour and the. This is important for me, this whiskey, and I'll tell you why. When this whiskey came out, I reached out to the company that makes this whiskey, and I said, this is something to celebrate. I hadn't tried the whiskey, but just the fact that this existed, I wanted to celebrate. They gave me a sample of the whiskey, and I tried it on that live stream live when I had the guy who makes the whiskey, and I said, you have no right to have a whiskey this good. That's exactly what my words were. This is from a new distillery, but a new distillery that was founded in 1995. The first wave, if you like, of new distilleries. Okay, Canenvy, Speyside Distillery came along in 1990. But in 1995, Aaron came along. And in 2021, or it could have been 2020, 2021 maybe, unbelievably, they brought out a 25-year-old malt whiskey.
And I love Aaron. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But what's amazing is that this is the future, because the new distilleries that are coming along now, bringing quality flavour, not adding colour, not chill filtering, natural, earnestly making the best whiskey they can possibly make. And then when they've made it, not screwing it up when it comes to bottling it by chasing cheap and volume, or by chasing premium and not reachable.
Yeah.
Just putting it right in the lap of the people who love it, the people who get teary-eyed talking about it.
The people who are going to be passionate about it.
Exactly. The people who are going to bring the passion and talk about it. Look at what's happened to Aaron. Everybody's loving it. Now, to me, there's complexity needs to be added here. There are some things missing here, but they are not imperfections. They are what they are. There's going to be things that happen in the future at Aaron and all these other new distilleries that we've been treated to since. Daftmill, Glengyle, Kilkerran, Kilhoman, and then in the last 10 years, an explosion of 72 new distilleries in Scotland between the year 2000 and 2030, 2035.
That is crazy. So that's half, almost.
Well,
close.
At the millennium, we were less than 100.
Okay.
And potentially post-millennium, we're going to be somewhere in the order of 160 distilleries by 2030, 2035, if they all go ahead.
Right.
But we're already at the stage where we've already got in the order of 40 or something has already happened. So they are the guardians of our future, because the incumbents seem to be more obsessed with premiumization and taking the legends and happenstance of Brora and things like that and taking it out of the people who built the enthusiasm and the passion and the legendary status of it, and putting it in the hands of just those who can afford. And maybe that's just the way of the world, and maybe that's just the way that we need to look at these things. And that's okay. That's okay.
It is
Because
gonna be
we've got
both,
things
so,
like this.
yeah.
Can you imagine tasting Aaron in another 5 years, another 10 years? Leanna bought this 25-year-old quarter-century malt for £275. Now, back 5 years ago, 275 for that age of whiskey was very expensive and pricey. And in fact, when this launched, I felt it was probably 50 quid too expensive. And then I tasted it and I went, ugh, no, it isn't. The price is right. 200 and I think it's 295, 295. Just fruit. I can't tell if this is bourbon, can't tell if this is sherry. I feel like all of it is here. The spice on the finish always leaves me, especially if you leave it for a beat, it's like a white pepper thing. It's almost like you've had something that's just had a light dusting of white pepper.
Right.
But that's not in the experience. You don't taste that, but it just sits on the palate afterwards.
It's a warming effect more than the actual the heat of a spice. I don't know.
Much in the same way a ginger might leave your palate or something, but it's not ginger. It's not good.
Definitely not ginger.
But it's got that sensation, that kind of, it's not drying, but it's drying a wee bit. But one of our new distilleries has released a 25-year-old whiskey.
No.
Graham Young is saying Leanne for president.
I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
Falscraft is saying, for me, it's malt whiskey. Leanne's reasons adopted, although I am not used to corn syrup. Well, yeah, corn syrup. We're all exposed to it, but it's all tends to be hidden in things, right?
And it's all personal taste, and reference.
Danny Hebington is saying whiskey made by the people for the people. Absolutely. Well, whiskey people for whiskey people, maybe arguably, but when it's done that way, you're given ammunition for a product. As a whiskey person, you can take to non-whiskey people and beguile them and let them understand how amazing a thing it is, and redefine their relationship with alcohol. Rather than alcohol just being something you drink and don't even think about, alcohol is suddenly something that every sip is commanding your attention. Saxo Scott is saying, now I did I pick up that, Saxo Scott? I hope I did. Good evening. Poll, please. Once done in Roy's Shrine, why not step out of the purple bin and jointly present recycled review number 16, please? I sense some bullying here. Are you up for it, or a miniature for the wee model?
So I noticed you have your wheelie bin I sent you up there.
This is actually from Leanne, and inside I've got the prompt. Do you remember that I did the wee kind of mini?
I remember seeing that, going, I cannot believe he did that. It was beautiful. It was like a January because it was snow. And at the very end of the recycled review, you're trailing this in the snow, and you throw the prop and the
bottles in, and then a link to the old recycled reviews. But she actually managed to find a purple one as well, which is just stunning to have. Fantastic.
I giggle every time I tune in to
and you see it up there.
One and two.
Look, you're a witness to that's half the bottles. And
spoiler alert, no.
So there's the recycled review, Saxo Scott. It's building.
It's coming along.
Missing Blair of the Leg this evening. Hope all's well with him, Aquavita. Yeah, I was wondering. It popped into my head. It's just subconsciously thinking, I don't know what the story is there. I hope he's well. I hope everything's okay. Leanne, are you going to get a selfie with a recycle bin? Don't you already have one?
I do.
You got one last time.
I have a picture taken with it. It's awesome.
Absolutely shattered. Catch the rest on replay, says Dan Thompson. Dan, nice to have had you in tonight. Maybe I've missed you. Night Roy and Night Leanne. Pleasure to have you, buddy. Falscraft is saying €370 where I sit. Hope it's worth that price. Okay, now you answered it, kind of. It seems to be justified. I tell you what, class, I'll either send or bring you a wee sample first, and you can decide for yourself.
Look at all the wheelie bins. I love it.
Coming up. I am not going to bully you, says Chris, but you promised.
He's great.
He's in, Roy. Oh, he's in. Hey, Jimmy is in. I haven't spotted him. Jimmy, if you're in, maybe you're just deciding to kick your feet up tonight.
Hey, friend.
Kick back and enjoy yourself. If you are, I hope you're well, buddy. Once you're grabbed by the long fingers of whiskey, says Gordon Fraser, it's not that you can't get out, it's that you never want to. Whiskey is life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's raise a glass to that. Eh?
Hey, cheers to that,
Is this your last one?
Yeah. Oh. Hello. How are you doing? And funny how my glass is Isla. I don't know if you make.
Oh yeah, so I didn't. That wasn't.
I don't know.
You spotted it as Isla.
Maybe, maybe not.
Thanks for the dram, Gordon. Thank you, buddy. Fastcraft is saying, thanks. I am honoured. Well, I need to make a note of that as well. I'll send you a sample. Graph. And I'm 25.
There's Jimmy Jazz.
Expect me to
Whiskey
forget,
and Wine
buddy.
Trails. Buddy.
Whiskey Wings, Mike, good to see you. I'm sipping a Hunter Lang 1991 Bunnahabhain 27-year-old. Great show, loving the passion Leanne's showing, and it's only amplified by the southern accent.
Yes.
Absolutely. And MG is saying definitely worth it at Lachranza Distillery. It's only £12 a dram for the 25-year-old. MG, that's what blew me away to the point where I was nervous to ask for the price. I said, I see you've got your 25 behind the bar. How much is it? She said £12.
Yes, please.
I was there with the Whiskey Rev and his family, and I said, yes, can I have two, please? That's the experience you should have at a distillery.
Yeah.
Subsidized experiences. Let's just turn everybody out of there an ambassador and loving it and say, yeah, you should go and visit that. That was at Lag. I bought that one. MGM, that's a good thing for you to have brought up. Great to see you both tonight. Great vPub, Whiskey with Molly, celebrating being a member for 20 months. Ben,
awesome.
Cheers, Slancher to you. Good luck for the weekend, buddy.
Cheers.
Time for a dram.
I'm very proud to be member.
Oh yeah?
For a long, I've been since the beginning.
An Aquavite, a barfly.
Yeah.
Oh, of course you're a barfly, but I'm very grateful that you're a member.
Of course.
Thank you. I get to thank you. This is quite a nice thank you.
This is a hella thank you. Thanks is just, wow.
Time for a dram is in. It's
Hey,
our pal
boo.
Gregor. And our pal Peter Lee is in as well. Good evening, Aquavite and Leanne.
Hey, Peter.
Peter is toying with the idea. He never takes a day off. But he's toying with the idea of taking tomorrow off to maybe meet us at the pot stall.
I love that.
Be great to see him tomorrow as well. Maybe bring Denise with you. Don't leave her running the restaurant, right? Bring her out. Right. Kilco is saying, bottle down in my Andalusia, triple distilled. Felt appropriate, single from Texas, where I met you both.
Yes.
I will be meeting Brian. I'm hoping to do a lock-in for patrons on Sunday night, but immediately after the lock-in, I'm going to jump over to Brian's stream and hang out with Kilco Brian over on his stream on Sunday night. So those of you looking for a bolt hole or a place to have a quiet dram on a Sunday night, patrons, please, I'll give you the link and things in Patreon. And then afterwards, join me over at Brian Kilco's channel. What are we thinking of our last dram?
Okay, we've had 6 unfreaking believable drams. Wow.
Yeah, we've still got a quiz to go as well. Palate's starting to get a bit tired.
It is a little bit.
And yet,
it's going to soldier on.
What I hoped that this dram could bring, it does bring. There's been a lot of delicacy, and there's not been anything particularly bold or extreme tonight.
This is hearty.
But there's something in this. This is when this dram was released, people were disappointed at how quiet it was, how subtle it was. They felt it was a bit too restrained, a bit too subtle. Really, I absolutely pour this in such parsimonious little portions that it's ridiculous that it should even still exist in my cabinet, because there is no backup bottle to this. It came out in 2020. It was very, very highly anticipated by me. I was worried it would disappoint, and for me it didn't. But there was a lot of kind of semi-disappointment from the community on this one, and I was surprised by it. I deliberately wanted to pour it at the end tonight so that we could get that you said heart. There is a core to this that tells me every time I taste it exactly where it's from. Danny Hebington is saying, since it's a special bottle night, it's time for a dram of my signatory 25-year-old Mortlach. I've made it last me 6 years. Slanchava to you both.
What a beautiful trip to be able to celebrate.
One more bottle in the thing. There's 2 other bottles. Let me find the other one. Bursting to open. I'm just gonna put this off to the side because I have something to suggest, and the other one's up there just out of reach, but you can reach it. I'll get you to reach it in a second. So you're obviously, Danny is in the exact same position as I'm in with this one, but I'm only 3 years in with this one. I've still got a decent a portion of it left. I think about a third or so of the bottle. But it's one of these ones that, okay, I can get it again. I can buy it if it's not so ridiculously expensive. But it's one of those ones that I really do appreciate. I did get 2 bottles of this the year it came out. I was very lucky with, I think it was Matthew Runseer. Someone managed to get me a second bottle, but this is the second bottle. We're halfway through.
Just the idea that you can get what y'all can get.
I know.
And there is such meager beans left that, and I mean, I understand the United States is a different market. This is in your backyard. In South Louisiana, it's a very limited market. I will say the retailers that I normally go to, they try their best. They really do. But there's just only so much you can do in the land where bourbon is king and where, perhaps the offerings that I'm more interested in are not going to be on a grocery store shelf. So, it's just amazing the things that y'all can even have.
But I mean, some states, if you're in California, you're almost spoiled for choice, right?
Yeah.
Texas does very well.
Texas does well, which is why I drive 5 hours to go see Zach and my friend Jennifer. And then I'm like Smokey and the Bandit going down I-10 with 2 cases of scotch in the back of my car.
Even in Texas and California, even in the well-represented states, you're not getting a lot of indies.
No,
you're not getting a lot of single casks.
You go to one of the biggest stores, even like Specs in Texas, and they may have 3 Gordon and MacPhails. They may have a couple of Octas. They may have 100, maybe if you're lucky, 5 different signatories of varying, not that kind. I mean, still the silver can,
unchill filtered.
They're not going to have some of the things I saw in Mike's shop today. No way in hell they're going to have that, and it's not the market for that because those folks have not, the volume is not there because they don't know to appreciate it. They've not had experience or exposure to it. So they don't know what they're really even missing.
I know. And I think that it's time, as people travel, as they come in and they get to push the envelope and explore and understand the concept of an independent bottler, the concept of single cask, the concept of all of these things. It's there in bourbon, right? Maybe not independent bottling, but there is some of it. Certainly there's a lot of sourced bourbon. There's certainly store picks rather than single casks and things like that.
Right.
When they do get my only worry is they go back home and suddenly, because Scotch whiskey is batch made product, it's hard. Even after it's batch made, the way it's made, it goes into a single cask, I think it's difficult to take that and then that very unique experience and make it available globally.
Yeah.
You're speaking about 1 bottle per state in the US, and already a quarter of the outturn is gone. It's difficult to distribute that globally.
Yeah.
However, I think that there are some things that we should keep in Scotland to encourage people to come here. The brands are doing an amazing job of getting all the whiskey out there right across the world. And if they need to come here for their indies or their single casks or their distillery exclusives or whatever, that's got to be a good thing. You're enjoying this one?
I am.
What if I told you I paid 60 quid for this?
would say, where can I get a bottle to take
Yeah.
home?
£60.
Oh my goodness. Look at
Jimmy
Jimmy
Jazz,
Jazz.
Jimmy, you star.
Jimmy.
Have you met Jimmy?
I haven't met Jimmy Jazz. Yes. Yes. No. No.
He's never been to Texas, as far as I
No,
know.
he's not been to Texas.
He's
But I've met him online virtually through a fantastic George Kaplan's advent calendar. So yes, virtually.
George
I
Kaplan.
know him. I know a saint. A
Yeah.
saint among
And Amy.
yeah. Love them.
So Jimmy Jazz is one of the most wonderful, smiley, just a pleasure
Just a
to
good
be
guy.
around. Jim, I know you've been here. Just the amount of times that we've been able to spend time in each other's company is fabulous.
And he's
And
out
it's
to dinner with his
Massachusetts.
girls.
So great to see
Aw.
Leanne back in the chair again this evening. Sorry to leave early. I'm off to dinner with my girls who flew out from Seattle.
Such a good dad.
You star,
good
Jimmy.
guy.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
buddy.
Jimmy. Oh,
I tried to meet Jimmy Jazz but failed, says Andrew Butler. Andrew, we missed each other when you were in Scotland as well. It was the time you left those samples at the Bonaccord for me that we enjoyed on your stream together. All the dots connect up.
yeah.
Right? But that it doesn't need to always be. There will be future opportunities.
Yes.
It's not like even people that think it's a bucket
Scotland
list.
isn't going anywhere. It's here. Come see it.
The amount of people that come here thinking, "Oh, I'm only going to make it to Scotland." No, you come to Scotland once thinking it's going to be once, but. Anyway, here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to reveal what this dram is. We're going to go into the quiz at the end. We're going to go and see if your husband has actually landed and he's actually the other side of these curtains, right?
He's been traveling a lot.
But do you see that tall SMWS bottle at the top of the shelf?
Yes.
I don't know if you can reach that. I hope you can.
I can.
Bring it down.
I saw it earlier. Oh my gosh.
Bring it down.
One moment, please.
And I'll tell you, don't get too excited yet.
Okay. Crazy knee. Okay.
Oh, you can reach it. Just
Oh,
reach
yeah.
it. Super. Right. What we have here is a bottle that was originally offered to me by Sevi. And I got a bottle of this. It's very expensive, but I did get it at a very good price. It was on sale because it's not a sexy distillery. Oh my goodness. Oh, just to the point that I loved it so much, I raved about it so much that Lynn, my wife, got in touch with Sevi for my birthday to work out how to get another. And this has been sat there sealed ever since. This is from one of my favourite distilleries from Knockdhu. A lot of people know it as Hanok, but this is 30 years old from refill ex-bourbon barrel. This has not been re-racked. It's not been finished. It's not been messed around with. It's been left alone.
That's epic.
So, and it's elegance and light, and it's just fabulous. Here's another one here that I don't have any idea what it tastes like. But as long as I've had this in my collection, this was bottled in 2020, so I've had it at least 2 or 3 years. I've been desperate to know what it tastes like. This is a Dilluin 23-year-old from Signatory Vintage. So a Speyside distillery it's owned by Diageo and Dilluin, 23-year-old, Signatory Vintage, and a 30-year-old Knockdhu that I know to be absolutely resplendent. So we will open one of these tonight. Here's the deal.
Gee.
You make a pass mark on the quiz at the end.
Oh no.
You get to choose. If you fail to make a pass mark at the quiz at the end, I get to choose.
Okay, so
And that's
there's
what
no loser here,
that's
clearly.
That's what we uncork.
That's clear.
And that's what our dram is as we watch the credits roll at the end. That's the dram that we're going to pour. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll need to get 2 clean glasses for it, but that's what it is. But now I need to reveal what the last dram of the night was. I've already told you it was a 60 quid bottle, 60, 65 pounds. Remember I told you the Arran was exciting to me because it was a new distillery.
Right.
This is even newer.
Even newer.
Than Arran. This is Glengyle. This is Kilkerran. This is when they brought out their first 16-year-old. This is their original 16-year-old release from 2020. It's just mineral and fruit and subtlety, and yet still that funk, that heart that you're talking about is the Campbelltown. And I know that people are like, "Oh, I'm tired of hearing this funk thing, this funk." Well,
Mm-mm.
sorry, and until
Too bad.
somebody has a better set of words, a better phrase, it's just that's how we're going to refer to it. I'm sorry, we are of limited tasting notes vocabulary, I think, as Nick Morgan puts it.
When you drink this and you evoke James Brown, wow, I'm just saying.
There's a visceral life to this whiskey that's difficult to. There's nothing else on the shelf that, okay, apart from something else from Campbelltown, probably Springbank, Glengyle, Springbank, somehow they've been able to put this thing into this whiskey.
Oh my gosh.
Just terrific.
Yeah, Alan, I hope so.
Whiskey with Molly saying if Andrew Butler gets 10 out of 10, open them both. Even if Andrew doesn't get 10 out of 10. Danny Hebbington is saying it must be like sitting in a library of whiskey there, Roy. I bet it's just a great room to even sit in alone. It actually is.
This is amazing.
Even when it's a mess like it is tonight because I've moved all the stuff around. But yeah.
There's bottles for days, y'all.
Where's Roy is in? Where's Roy? He changed his name. He's Roy Overmere from Norway. He changed it to where's Love it. Absolutely brilliant to see you in, buddy. Danny Hebbington is saying, sorry, Danny, I picked that one up. And Alan Newland is saying, doesn't the guest always get a pass mark?
Absolutely.
Oh, so
yes, absolutely. I've been doing pretty well
Alan?
lately, but oof.
Good. And Andrew's saying that, yes, absolutely terrific. Palsgraf is saying if it was just before and at Limburg, I had my first Campbelltowns. And I know what the funk is. And yes, there is just that word for it.
Yeah.
Well, until I hate somebody coming along saying, you can't say smooth, that's not a word. You can't say grassy, that's not a word. You can't say funk, that's not. Okay,
Give me another one.
You. Exactly. What's the alternative?
I mean, I am a professional linguist in a way, and a communicator. And if that's the word I'm going to use, it's going to be the word I use.
One of the things I'll rail against more than anything is anybody stealing words from anybody trying to vocalize what the emotive thing that they're experiencing with whiskey.
Yeah.
There are no words off the table. None.
No.
None. It's just
because your words are the way you relate to the whiskey. And no one should be able to take that away from you. If it is smooth, then that's your word. You have a meaning in your brain as to what that means to that whiskey.
There's somebody in whiskey, and I've already mentioned his name. But he talks at length about making whiskey accessible and desnobifying it, and he's actually written chapters on it. And then he puts out blog posts talking about how some people are of limited vocabulary, and it's just we can't keep. If we're making whiskey intimidating, if it's a difficult space to come into, then that can't be a positive thing. It can't be good. It's got to be even if you want to just go nuts and find 1,000 words to describe the whiskey, you should be indulged. And if you can only find one word to describe the whiskey, you should be indulged.
Yeah.
Whiskey is just to be enjoyed as long as you're enjoying it and you're having fun.
It's a personal experience. When Mark and I got married many years ago, the day after we get back from this trip is our wedding anniversary, and we're going to celebrate by going to sleep. But we went to Napa Valley for our honeymoon way back in the day. And one of the best life lessons I ever got was at the Robert Mondavi winery. And this very Californian with the wide brim hat woman and the long flowy dress skirt, was walking us through a tasting of the wine. And she was, we were going through the progression, and then in the back of the room, invariably someone said, "Oh, I don't like that one. That one's no good." And she, scratch record, come to a stop. And she said, "You prefer something over the other. What you have may not be to your palate, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it." And she was trying to get the person to understand that their palate is theirs. Other people's are theirs. And what one person may not be in their wheelhouse, so to speak, or be their preference, doesn't negate the value of what that had. Now,
Perfect.
yes,
Yeah,
there are some not great crafted spirits. We understand that. Um, but everyone has a preference, whether it's a whiskey or the way they like to work or the way they like to dress or anything else.
yeah, and I hope she did it in a way that made the person feel like they could go on and
Yeah, she
rather than
wasn't
feel
being
scolded
ugly.
or
Oh
something,
no,
you
she
know.
wasn't doing it.
And
She
I,
was
I
in
would
a
say,
very
I would
teachable
say
moment.
in whiskey, what the best thing to say is, "I don't like this yet."
There you go.
Yeah, it's like all whiskey's always teaching me.
Yeah.
You know that it's just you know. It
But
doesn't
you're
matter.
being open minded to that. And I don't know
Yeah.
that everybody
That's
always
right. But it's
is.
one of the things that the whiskey helps you be in life. Generally, is a little bit more open minded. I'm
Yeah.
not the most open minded person yet. Anyway, we need to get the quiz on, don't we?
Okay.
You've probably got a husband much
I
more
hope
closer
so.
by.
I hope so.
So let's see. Let's bring this in. What would you rather? What would you rather have? If you were to choose one of these, what would it be? As I bring the quiz in here, a 30-year-old Knockdo, Anok, or a Dillion from Speyside. I don't know. Actually, there's if you don't, there's lots of other things that you could just go right ahead and open as well.
So I'm going to go with the not do, and I'll tell you why. Because you are the reason I tried Enoch 12 first.
Wow. Okay.
You know, so I think
12-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah.
40% ABV.
You were the one. Well, 43 for us.
Oh.
Sorry.
Rub it in. Rub it in.
Yeah, but you were the one that told me about that. And then when I came in 2019, we had the Enoch 16. You shared that with me.
I treated you in 2019.
You treat me every time I show up, friend.
Well, I've got that's been recharged again thanks to Macallan Fine and Rare Dock. The Enoch 16 has had a
it was effervescent. I remember that.
Ex-bourbon. I mean, it's just fully ex-bourbon. No kind of temptation to add a bit of richness or depth or something from sherry. Just keep it pure, keep it ex-bourbon, and it just makes it brilliant. Jimmy Legg's here. Campbelltown makes the whiskey
Jimmy.
The way it was made before everyone took out the malting floors and the direct fire stills and the dunnage warehousing. It tastes like history, and history is funky.
It is funky. It is funky.
There is a lot of truth in what Jimmy says. It's quite a succinct way of putting it, Jimmy. And he will get to go and see the spot this year.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much, Jimmy Legg. It's
Cheers,
not a vPub until Jimmy's in. You've got other things to drink, right?
I do.
Oh, you're being very careful with
I'm being We have approached
all of these you can recharge your glass with. It doesn't. All of these are there to be enjoyed.
Y'all, I hope y'all are enjoying this as much as I am, because I'm just about near tears.
Well, let's try this new layout for the quiz at the end. I don't know if that'll work. I'd need to try and make it quickly. Let's see. I don't know what people are seeing right now, but let's put a media slot in. Make that big as we can make it. There we go. Does that work? And then I'm doing this live. I have no idea this. I had no idea we could do this live, Leanne.
I had no idea either. I'm learning. I love it.
Right. Save. I'm going to call it.
Nobody cares.
That'll do. Save new layout.
There we go.
Right. And then remove, add to stream. And then try that.
There you go. Look at that. Man, he is amazing. Hey, Kim. Great seeing you.
Kim, do you know who that is?
Yeah, Kim in New York. Hey, friend.
Scotch in the Bayous, classing up Scotland, sending big hugs. She is, yes. Yeah. Cheers, Kim. Thanks for the dram. Thank you so much. Okay, good luck. Remember, if Leanne gets a pass mark, she gets to choose. It will be the Anok. And just to add a bit of drama to things, I'm going to choose the Dillion. Right? So if you don't get your pass mark, we open the Dillion. Okay, good luck, everybody. Remember, it's just for fun. It's just always multiple choice. It's usually there's freebies and giveaways, but no, this is actually a bit tricky tonight. It's not. I'm not going to be. I've been very generous with the whiskey.
You've been very generous with the whiskey, but don't
quiz,
go ask Hat with the questions.
Yeah, there may be.
I don't have my malt yearbook
That's
like
right.
I am at home.
Well,
I know all
can
of you do that too.
My malt whiskey yearbook, but let's just go with the seat your pants.
Okay.
Good luck, everyone.
I
See
get
you later
poser.
tonight. Question 1. Which distillery name translates to Valley of the Green Grass in English?
Gee whiz.
Is it A. Glengoyne, B. Auchentoshan, or C. Glenfarclas?
Okay.
One of those three translates in English roughly to Valley of the Grass. Green glass. Which is it? A. Glengoyne, B. Auchentoshan, or C. Glenfarclas? Now, of course, you can do what folk always do. You can follow the chat tonight. Remember, there are banana skins in there. There are the one last week. I think it was last week when I put in the Icelandic one. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Did
Do
you
you ever
catch
get
that?
hate mail over
I don't get hate mail, but there were certain,
over some of your questions?
there were some very disappointed comments. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. That Anok small batch 16-year-old was stunning. Aquaviti.
Yeah.
Yeah. The original 16-year-old I don't think was particularly small batch. It could be. I don't know. It was certainly generally widely available here, Graham. But it's just a delight, an absolute delight. A very subtle thing, but wonderful. Falscraft saying, I'm trying to learn Irish at the moment, so some Gaelic is known to me now. Fantastic class. What are we going to go with, Leanne?
I'm going to go with C. I was just there.
Glenfarclas is Valley of the Green. You were just there. I'm pandering to you tonight. Absolutely.
Woohoo!
Interestingly, Glasgow is green place or green or something. I don't remember what the other green part, but glass.
Class is the
Glasgow class. It's not how
Okay.
it's spelled, it's how it sounds.
Sounds. Okay.
So that it's the same thing. Question 2. Bessie Williamson is considered the first woman in modern times to manage a whiskey distillery. Which of these was it? Don't blurt it out.
I know what
You're excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a badass.
Yeah.
She did
I
it.
think the more I read about her, the more I realise that she's probably just very tenacious but actually quite sweet. And yeah. A. Cardew, B. Lefroy, or C. Glenkinchie? Which of those was Bessie Williamson's distillery she started? As a PA, as a secretary, as a bookkeeper type.
Right.
Became so trusted that she was left in charge and became full owner. Eventually sold the distillery through, but she was still around. She hung around until maybe into the early 70s.
I mean, it's nothing like being in the middle of a war and saying you not only expanding to the South America and Australia, but also running ammunitions out of the port right there at the dock.
Just days that we just can't even fathom, can't even imagine.
No.
Right? It's incredible.
No, they thought they were going to have to close the distillery, and they're like, "Nah, she can run it." Like, yeah, and she did.
So if you ever come across a bottle of Williamson, you're actually drinking, Leanne?
Lefroy.
A bottle of Lefroy, absolutely.
Yay!
Easy peasy so far.
2 for 2.
Feeling comfortable?
I'm 3 away from picking
My Anok's taking a hit, is it? Question 3. Which small batch blender upscaled to become a distiller by purchasing Blair Athol in 1933?
Oh,
Well, I'm just looking at you here because I know that you've been traveling down. So I thought maybe, I don't know if you have time.
Blair Athol was my first stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which blender bought Blair Athol and then progressed from being a small scale blender to a distiller? Was it A. Arthur Bell and Sons, B. John Dewar, or C. John Walker? Feeling confident now?
I do.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yep.
Fantastic.
The A's have it.
Now remember, the first half of the quiz tends to be quite.
I know, but I just
easy,
need the first half for a pass mark. Are you kidding me? It's question, hand to God, right? Question 8 and 9 that does it to you.
The crowd seems to think it's
okay. Good.
Are you going with the crowd?
I'm going with the crowd. It's definitely A.
It is
Number one for Bells.
And it is the home of Bells now. Blair Athol remains to this day the home of Bells. Question 4. Between 1975 and 1990, only 4. It's getting tricky now, Leanne. Only 4 Scotch distilleries were opened. That should say were opened. What did they have in common?
Ooh.
A. They were all in Speyside.
Oh man, are you kidding me?
B, they were all add-ons to existing distilleries. Or C, they were all owned by DCL. That's the company, Distillers Company Limited. We now know
Right.
them as Diageo. Only, this is a fascinating stat to
75
me.
90,
From
only four.
1975, this is
Well,
the dark...
everything was shutting down.
Exactly, it's the dark days of Scotch. 75 to 90, and yet still 4 distilleries. Admittedly, 2 were in 1975, and then 2 opened in 1990. There was nothing happened
Wow.
in between bit closures. But they had something in common. Either they were all in Speyside, they were all add-ons to existing distilleries, or they were all owned by DCL. Don't look at the crowd. Don't think they look like they're going to be much of a help to you on this
They're
one.
all over the board. Okay.
Going to have to ask you for an answer, Leanne.
I'm going to say C, that they're all owned by Diageo.
Okay.
DCL.
2 in 1975, 2 in 1990. I can tell you that Altavania, Pittivake, Speyside, and Kinninvie
They're all in
are all in
Speyside.
Speyside.
Jeez, fuck. Okay.
Pittivake and Kinninvie were built onto existing distilleries,
Okay.
Dufton and Balvenie,
Mhm.
respectively. DCL owned Pittivake, Altavania's Pernod Ricard. So it was all over the place. You had to know that they were all Speyside distilleries.
So, Pittivake.
Pittivake, yep.
Yeah. Gordon MacPhail. I have a bottle of that I came home with.
You
I'm
bought
go-
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that closed in 92, I think.
Yeah.
So it's an old, it's a well-aged bottle.
Very well aged.
You've just told your husband, who's probably watching in the other
It's a collective.
that would not have been cheap these days. So
No.
did you get to try it first?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Picture
Should have had that answer.
Picture question coming up.
Okay.
It's a malt floor.
Oh, I know where that is. I know where that is.
You do?
I do. I've been there.
You better hope that it comes up. Or you better hope that the question is, I'm going to ask you, where is that? Instead, what I'm going to ask you,
no.
What are we looking at? Are we looking at? Okay, I need to change it quickly. I tried, but let's do that. See if that works. Are we looking at A, Islay, B, Speyside, or C, the Western Highlands?
I got this.
Actually been there, says Helen.
Yep.
Lots of people feeling super confident
Yep.
about this one.
Been there.
My memory of this one is twofold.
Yeah.
The face on Rob Halford, who's in here tonight, the glee on his face as we stood and we dug our hands into the barley, you could feel the warmth of the grain as it was germinating. The
Right.
heat. The sparrows flying around everywhere as well and stealing the fat sparrows there, right?
Right.
But also Gregor McQueen, doesn't like peat.
Yeah.
Standing on the malt floor in front of Anthony Wills as he's kind of just riffing, and Gregor just doing that and looking over at me because I was trying to capture the moment that he took a mouthful of peat.
Yeah.
And there was just this kind of recognition. He was just like, aye, all right, it's not that bad, you know. Brilliant. The glee and the vicarious enjoyment, not just through the liquid, but through visiting the places too. So of course we're speaking about Kilchoman.
Yep.
So we are very much on Islay. But you had that down, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Jim is saying if people in the chat had a southern pecan pie, you would have new respect for corn syrup.
That is true. That is true. You can't make a good pecan pie without that.
Bless you, Jim. Jim's planning to come over to Scotland as well.
Good. You won't regret it. Even with bad travel, you won't regret it.
Yeah, who needs luggage, right?
Yeah.
Question 6, Leanne's first Scotch malt whiskey distillery. You mentioned it. I got you to mention it.
Yeah.
Was where? I hope people were paying attention. Her visit to the first ever Scotch distillery was at A, Glengoyne, B, Arran, or C, Oban. So I had to make out a Leanne question. I think you've scored 5 out of 5, have you?
Cut it. No, I missed the The one, so I'm 4 out of 5 right now.
Are you going to take the point for the giveaway?
I so am going to take that point and run like hell with it. Are you kidding me?
Fair enough.
I'll take what I
give
can,
I
boo.
give it to you. I give it to you. You can take it.
Oh, okay.
Everybody is suggesting that the first distillery you went to was Oban.
That is correct. It is
Absolutely.
open.
Take it. Congratulations on the 5 out of 5.
Yay!
Go and get 2 clean glasses.
I love it when I get what I want.
Yeah. She's already only 6 questions in, and she's got her wish. So I want to say thanks to my wife for a fantastic birthday gift. It's been sitting there for a while, been waiting to open. It was last year's birthday.
Yes, and I want to take a moment for that because Roy has Lynn, I have Mark. There's no way we could do this without those folks.
Yeah.
Because
They're both the other side of the curtains.
because they put up with the madness and the craziness, and they know that this makes us happy, and I'll ever be appreciative of that.
Aye. Here's to the
Lord.
Marks and the Lynns of the world.
Love y'all. Oh my word.
Aye.
Mm. Mm.
That's the neck pour. It's not even been given a minute to breathe.
No.
It's going to
We'll let it sit there for a second.
It's just going to keep bringing it. It's going to keep bringing it.
Yay. Pass.
Here. Thank God for Andy. That's Helen raising a glass to her other half too.
Yeah.
Terrific stuff. Yeah, I don't want to press remove. I want to do that. So it was indeed Oban. Hope you guys are all doing well. Graham Fraser is celebrating a 6 out of 6. Superb. Tim was saying 1 out of 6, but just got here. Fair enough, buddy.
That's okay.
Take it as a 6. Question 7. Duffton was eventually named after its founder, James Duff. Starting to get tricky now. You're already safe.
I was wondering.
You can relax. You can relax there.
No, but wait. Which one did I get? Because I was wondering if you were kin to the person. I was like, surely Roy's. It was one of the tours I did this week. So let me think which one. Keep going with the question.
Well, what I've tried to do is I've tried to weave in questions. I mean, obviously a Leanne question, but some questions about, Blair Athol and where places that you've been or close to Glenfarclas, and now we're in Duffton. So places that you've been close by that you might have, it might not be a complete challenge to you, but James Duff was the founder of Duffton, and eventually it was named after him. But what was it called previously? Was it A, Balvenie, B, Mortlach, or C, Pittivich? Ooh.
Oh.
Maybe guessing here a wee bit.
I am guessing.
The town was called this first.
Yes.
Despite the fact that James Duff founded the town.
Okay.
Based on people returning from the Napoleonic Wars. I think it was the Napoleonic Wars, and he needed to offer a place for them to thrive and to grow and flourish, and he built a town from a very small settlement, and it was called this. But then eventually, I think after he died, they eventually renamed it Duffton.
Okay, I'm just gonna go with my gut on what I think it is.
What does your gut say?
My gut says Balvenie because of the castle being there.
Despite everyone in the chat saying B for Mortlach. Mortlach is the church in the centre of the town.
Oh.
But it was named Balvenie.
I love it. Yay. 7 drams in, and I got number 7.
There was a banana skin there.
Yes.
There's just, the Mortlach church is right in the centre there. The town before it was named Duffton was actually called Balvenie. Greg's missing again. He's saying, oh no. Bruno Martins is saying great. 7 out of 7 for MJ Rodden. Well done. Keep going. Peter Lee is saying wow.
Yep, 6,
Question
7.
8. Against the crowd as well. Which Scotch malt whiskey brand is considered to be the first to establish itself in an export market with a 5-year-old release? To this day, it is the best-selling whiskey in the market. It remains the best-selling whiskey. Is it A, Glenfiddich, B, Glenmorangie, or C, Glengrant? I'm not going to say what the market is because it tends to give it away. Probably just by saying that, I've given it
I
away.
got it.
The confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Only one slip up so far, Leanne.
Confidence or sass or, we'll see.
Whiskey. What?
Oh.
Fortifying our convictions.
Yep.
What do you think?
So there is an Italian flag flying at the distillery because that's where most of their whiskey is sold, and that would be Glen Grant.
Yeah, there's an Italian flag flying at Glen Grant because they're owned by Campari,
Yeah.
the Italian
They
company.
sell.
And the
That's their
Italians
biggest-
were one of the first to discover the treasures and treats of single malt whiskey. And they
Yeah.
were able to do it based on a 5-year-old malt whiskey. Now, I have to say, I used to go to Italy regularly, but I went to a supermarket and happened upon a bottle of Glen Grant 5-year-old for
Mhm.
€12. €12.
Wow.
I bought it. I took it back to the hotel. I sipped it. Yes, it's young whiskey. Was it easy and enjoyable? Was it €12 worth? Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I was just there yesterday afternoon, and they were on 24/7, and it's beautiful. The
Glen Grant,
gardens
yeah.
are gorgeous.
I've not been to
you
Glen
know,
Grant. I need to go.
But yeah.
But there you go. There you go.
Wow.
Glen Grant, you're doing well. Still only one slip up
7
so
out
far.
of 8 in this condition. I'm
Yeah.
impressed.
There we go. There's a wee picture of the bottle.
Wow.
Not something you can buy in the UK, by the
Mm-mm.
way, not very easily. But if you're ever in Europe, if you're in Italy specifically, you can pick it up for buttons.
Mm.
Screw top bottle, but we don't care. Question 9. How many distilleries are located in Louisiana, USA? According to the Malt Whiskey Yearbook. So I'm specifically talking about malt distilleries. How many malt distilleries are located in Louisiana?
Oh my gosh. Are you
Wait till
kidding
you
me?
see the answers. Don't
Okay.
worry.
Okay.
A, none. B, one. C, some.
Mm.
Louisiana malt distilleries. So we're not talking about
We have-
Meckel, was it?
So, JT Melick.
Melick. Okay.
Melick,
that's the
a
distillation.
rice distillation. They make
Yes.
vodka, but they're making whiskey now. It's very, very interesting whiskey. We have a lot of rum.
Sugar, of course.
Because we have sugar cane everywhere, a lot of agricole. And then some of those distilleries are making whiskey, but they're making more in the corn. I'm going to go with none, actually.
None.
I don't think we have a malt distillery in Louisiana.
You can pronounce French words.
Yes.
But you've told me that a lot of French is taken and it's been anglicized to the point that it's not really pronounced French anymore.
Some things
Louisiana.
like Carondelet is Carondelet in New Orleans, mainly in New Orleans, like in the French-speaking area of Louisiana and Lafayette,
I'll be
Breaux-Bridge.
faithful to French.
That is more French, but New Orleans, everything's a little different.
Well, I can tell you that there is one distillery there.
October.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say Atelier V.
Atelier
So I would
V,
say
yeah.
in French, but I don't know how you pronounce it there. But they are very close, just outside, or actually inside the city limits of New Orleans. So,
Okay. Yeah.
So you
yeah, I know
have
which one it was. I
a
didn't
malt
realize that
distillery
they
in
did a
Louisiana.
single malt there.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, they have, and they've released it. So far.
We'll have to go find
So
it.
there we go. There is an ass hat at the end. Let's see how the scores are
Okay.
doing. Leanne is currently on 7.
Yes.
So she's way
7 out of 9.
past the finish line. So she's cruising for potentially an 8 if she gets the ass hat. Whiskey and Wine Trails is on 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's tripped up 3 times tonight, but you've still got a pass mark,
okay.
Tom. Well done. 8 out of 9 for Whiskey with Molly. 6 out of 9 for
Awesome.
Helen tonight. Oh, Helen off par tonight. A couple of banana skins for you. Still a pass mark. Bruno Martins in Portugal on 8. Jerry Miller on 8. Superb, guys. Andrew Pearce on 6. Black Fence 8. I'm looking for. See if you can help me pick up any.
Andrew, which one did you miss, Boo?
Andrew, yeah, it's not like
Not
Andrew, is
like
it, to slip up.
he's an encyclopedia.
8 out of 9. Fernando, Aquavita Leanna's My Lucky Charm. 8 out of 9. Fernando, keep it strong. See if you
Good
get
deal.
a 9. Helen is getting ready for the ass hat. We're not going to have a 10 out of 10 tonight.
Oh wow, that's
Do you know what we should
crazy.
do? Graham Fraser, 9 out of 9.
Oh, Graham, I'm pulling for you.
I'm not going to finish.
I'm pulling for you.
Dufton was originally called Mortlack 100% Fact.
Oh.
You know the rules, Ben. If you ever come across a vPub question that you feel to be inaccurate somehow, even if I get the grammar or the spelling wrong, and you want to just take the point, everybody takes the point. Absolutely, if you want to take it. So where did I did not get that from the Malt Whiskey Yearbook. I was reading it today, and I remember a story reading about it being once upon a time called Mortlach in the Church. It was a Mortlach church, the kirk in the centre of the town. But today in Charlie McLean's Wikipedia,
it's on the backside. I saw it.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah.
Oh, did you have a wee read earlier?
No, I just saw that it was sitting there.
So where would we go for? I don't even know which distillery we would look at. Would it be the Dufton distillery?
Because they're all just like right there. So
I mean, what we should really be doing is just okay. During the Peninsular War, achieving the rank of Major General, and was MP for Banffshire. The town was originally named Balvenie after the large medieval castle that stands on its edge, but soon changed its name to that of its founder. But the reason I included it, Ben, is because I also believed it to be Mortlach from previous research or reading. So, like I say, take the point. Don't expect to be any kind of lenience or luck or fortune for the asshat.
I was going to say, number 10 is going to throw it anyway.
Good luck, everybody, especially Graham Fraser. He's on a 9 out of 9.
Oh.
Here we go. How many malt whiskey distilleries operational in the USA are listed in the 2023 Malt Whiskey Yearbook? Right, it was interesting because I did one on French distilleries last year, just French distilleries, French whiskey distilleries. And there were the same amount of French whiskey distilleries as there are Scotch malt distilleries operating and active in France. Frightening.
Wow.
Whiskey boom is not in any one area, it's everywhere. But I'm looking at the USA now, and I'm just looking at malt distilleries so that they'll be listed in the Malt Whiskey Yearbook, okay? Is it A? The same as the capacity of Glenlivet. So that's litres per annum, thousands of litres per annum. So if you're going to suggest that that's 50, then it would be 50,000 litres per annum. I hope you get my
Oh my goodness. I'm glad I've already made it.
B,
fast.
is it about the same litres in a quarter cask? Or is it C, about the same as operating malt distilleries in Scotland? So you need to know the answer to two things here. You need to know the answer to the question I'm asking you, how many malt distilleries are listed in the Malt Whiskey Yearbook. This is utter ass-hattery. Of course it is.
To the nth degree,
Everybody needs a little bit of luck for the ass-hat. But you also need to know what's the capacity of Glenlivet. You need to know the litres in a quarter cask, and you need to know roughly how many operating malt distilleries there are in Scotland. What's molasses saying? For funk's sake. Yes. And very soon depends on where you class the centre of Dufton. Ooh. Well, can't it be both then, Mike? That would be a good one, right?
Yeah.
He's pretty close to Dufton. He's only about half hour or less.
Yeah.
Greg's also guy is saying operating Roy, but not 130 with a finished product, rather 77 to 82 according to pro sources. Absolutely, buddy, but that's the same in Scotland as well. We're looking at 130, but quite a few of those as well don't have a released product yet. Craig G is saying, look in your heart, don't make me divide. Dancing Crab Dufton was in the parish of Mortlach, but was called Balvenie previously, I believe.
Oh. So, yeah, we call it the parish. Because so Louisiana doesn't have counties. We have parishes based on the church parish because it was predominantly Catholic.
It's the same. Speyside is actually split into parishes. So I think potentially most of Scotland is. Anyway, Falscraft is panicking. No, not C, damn. Okay, I'll stick with it. What are you going to do? You're going to have to guess here, Leanne, right? So we're looking at
I'm so guessing.
How many malt distilleries are listed in the Malt Whiskey Yearbook?
US. I'm saying
somewhere in the region of how many do you think?
I'm saying A. I don't know.
You're right. You're right.
What? I just don't see that. Yeah.
There is 150 150. And I know Ingvard is working so hard to keep that up to date, but he simply cannot keep up to date with the sheer explosion. I heard that there's over 2,000 distilleries, craft distilleries in North America and in the US. But he's listing 150 and he's probably maxing out. It's going to get to the point that he just cannot keep doing it. Somebody else is going to need to make an American malt whiskey yearbook or something, right? But
it's booming.
He goes into detail on 25, but he lists 150, which is the same as the capacity of Glenlivet, more or less, 140,000 litres per annum. Litres in a quarter cask, it depends on the size of the quarter cask, of course. It could be as low as 38 or 40, but generally speaking, 50 litres in a quarter cask, so it's much more than that. Operating the malt distilleries in Scotland, 134. There are more malt distilleries in North America already in the space of a decade than there are in Scotland right now, which is interesting, thrilling, and terrifying all at the same time, right?
It's a fast maturation, but it's not exactly the same.
I'm feeling bad for Graham Fraser right now because I'm looking directly to try and catch his name to see if he's managed these 10 out of 10.
He was a 9.
Graham Young, 8 out of 10, fantastic whiskey with Molly. I'll take 10. Ben, take it, buddy, take it. Celebrate your 10. Come on,
that's
Graham
awesome.
Fraser. There we go. Just try and keep our eye on that.
That was great. I can't believe it.
You managed a 7 out of 10.
I'll take it.
So here's your reward. What do you think?
Oh, Lord.
The age is here, but it's so elegant. It's so delicate and elegant. And
yeah.
Leanne, do you know what I think we need to do?
What do we need to do?
We need to make this an annual event. I need to be sharing my best whiskies with somebody who appreciates it like you do every year.
I would love for someone else to enjoy the decadence of this lineup because it is what it is. And not necessarily, again, to your point of, being the most unicorn, although there was a stallion or two of unicorns in this lineup, it is the idea that they're the ones that are meaningful to you, and to share your birthday whiskeys and those that people thought enough of you to share and give them to, and then for you to think enough of me to share them with me.
But it doubles the value of it, doesn't it? It does. It just that's exactly what it's all about. It's about everybody's. That's one of the reasons that we love this thing so much.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a better person to share these with.
Thank you,
Leanne,
sir.
Scotch from the Bayou.
Thank you
so much.
Love you, friend.
Until next year.
Yep.
I absolutely will return next week, back to normal, more or less, with a vPub, looking for the value, looking for the quality, looking for the integrity, looking for the next thing. Honestly, it's what we're all going to keep doing as a community. But forgive me for just once in a while, just getting out. It's almost like putting on your Sunday best or something, and
It
just
was
kind of
awesome.
and just the pure indulgence of it all. I hope you will forgive me. Rob Smith is in there. He's saying, I volunteer. Thank you very much. And Very Whiskey Shop is a chant the water of life. I wonder if that's the film that's in. I wonder if that's Greg, if he's in tonight. Seb Case saying, great vPub, everyone. Aquaviti and Leanne. Thank you, Seb. Thanks for hanging around and enjoying it. Helen is sharing your channel link as well.
Thanks.
Fantastic. And Pedro Menezes is saying, just another great vPub. Thanks. Thank you, Pedro. If you can somehow enjoy tuning into me, having the time of my life, drinking fantastic whiskies with fantastic people, then that's just a bonus. That's a win-win-win for everyone. And everyone to St. Fairwinds Roy. Roy is coming to the camp.
Yes, we need to get Roy to the camp.
I think I have
we need to get
invited.
Roy in a boat, going down the river and looking at alligators. I think that needs to happen.
Do you know the literal name for animals? I heard a brilliant one. Like you've got a chicken, but then you've got a seagull as a beach chicken, and a penguin is a formal chicken. And you know what literal name for animals are? No, a raccoon's a bin dog, or a bin panda. A fox is a bin dog. But my favorite one I saw was an alligator. an American murder log.
It could be, but we stay well in the boat and away from them.
We stay away from them, but you can still see them. Yeah, it's almost disturbing. Brilliant stuff, Lauren Leanne, says Danny Hampton. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Rob Smith says, great vPub tonight. And Tommy Elmer has said, two of my most favourite people. Cheers and slant to you all. And Graham Young is saying, the entire vPub was a true gem of whiskey. Instant classic. I'll rewatch it tomorrow and still wouldn't believe it. Aquavite. And thanks, Leanne. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Inverurie Whiskey Shop Mike. Thank you, Mike Molasses, Danny Hampton, Papa Q. Good to see you, buddy. Peter Lee. Hope to see you tomorrow too. And Des, see you later, alligator.
Yes, that's right. Sandra, y'all.
I'll raise this glass. Looking forward to seeing you next week again. Remind you all that you're very dearly loved. Thank you for indulging us tonight.
Thank you.
Slanjava.
Thank you, friend.